Hey y'all, hi. Okay, here's the situation. For years now, I have been intermittently filming for my YouTube channel a series that I call What's Cheering Me Up Right Now. And the genesis of this series was the idea that I wanted to film a monthly favorites video. Like throughout the month, I would be listening to something or putting something on or eating something or watching something that I was like, I want to tell people about this. A traditional favorites video on beauty YouTube, which is kind of where I started. It was just a list of new products that were exciting because they were new. And so it was kind of like a shopping list, like a shopping video. So I wanted to make a favorites video that had the structure of a traditional YouTube favorites video, but was almost always exclusively about things that aren't products. And it's also a way for me to share just my joy and things that I discover throughout the month and a little bit of my personality and just to connect, you know what I mean? To connect with you about real things. So for this video, Joe and I have dug up What's Cheering Me Up Right Now videos from the past several years. I think that it goes all the way back to 2022 and edited them together into one very long compilation video. So you can watch what has cheered me up for the past several years. And it's an hours-long video, which is the kind of thing I know people like to watch when they're falling asleep or doing housework. It's something that you can save and return to over and over again, a little bit of a comfort watch, and also like a roundup of music and shows and probably some products and styling ideas. I'm not even sure what it all is. What even is it all? We've made this compilation because it has been requested and also because it's a way for us to take a little bit of time off here and there. Putting together a compilation video allows us to step back, take a breath, and then come back with renewed vigor. So that is what we're doing if you're watching this when it has just posted. And it helps so much to have you watching the channel while we are taking a break, because it can be tough, algorithmically tough for YouTubers to take any kind of time off. So thank you for being here. I really hope you enjoy what has been cheering me up right now for years and years and years. What's cheering me up right now through the ages. I think you'll see my hair get short then long then short then long. You might see me get pregnant and then give birth. I think so, actually. And I'm also aware that it's been a while since I filmed a new What's Cheering Me Up Right Now. I'll try to remember to do that as soon as we get back from our break. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to buy my book if you haven't done that yet. Please click through and check out my Patreon page. My husband and I have a podcast on there. We record it and post it every week. And you can also watch ad-free versions of my YouTube videos over there. You can choose the level that you commit, but it starts at $1 a month. So consider it. And now let's get right into the meat of this long compilation video. Hey y'all, hi. It's time for another episode of everyone's favorite television show, What's Cheering Me Up Right Now? Yay. This is my version of a traditional YouTube favorites video in which, instead of focusing on products, I talk about what it is in my life that is actually bringing me joy, what's actually cheering me up. You know, I love a good beauty product, and one of the things I do here on this channel is talk about which beauty products are adding little bits of value to my life and improving my life in small ways. But I fundamentally believe that products aren't what make a life joyful. So in a favorites video, in What's Cheering Me Up Right Now, I try to look at the big picture. And if you enjoy this and you're not subscribed to my channel yet, I hope that you'll subscribe before this video is over. Now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, so the truth is that I haven't felt very cheered by anything lately. It's been kind of a tough and strange mental health month, or even 2 months at this point. In the middle of August, I was very sick for a couple of weeks, and it's taking longer than usual to get back to my normal self, both physically and I feel like in terms of my schedule and just like the way that the world flows over here. My energy has been low, which is tough in and of itself, but I also feel like I've been more plagued than usual by my personal demons, you know, up here. So at first, this video was on the schedule, and at first I was literally like, so I can't film it. Like, I can't film What's Cheering Me Up Right Now because I'm not cheered, because nothing's cheering me up. And then I was like, that's not fair though, because there are things that I've been doing, even if I don't feel like they're getting me to the usual level of being cheered up. It's actually these times, like these times that try men's souls, that we find out what really works, like what's fundamentally the straw that we grasp at, maybe a better time than ever to film what's cheering me up right now. And the funny thing is, when I started paying really close attention to try to garner like the list for this video, what emerged was little things, like taking pleasure in little things that might feel inconsequential. But when I started listing them, when I started adding them together, and I realized that because I haven't been feeling my best, I have been like working really hard to take pleasure in the small, pleasurable things. I was like, I can film what's cheering me up right now. And I also have been thinking, like it's gotten me thinking about the power of just paying close attention and trying to squeeze every drop of pleasure out from the little things when you're struggling. So that's kind of like the nature of this list. And I'm actually really excited to share it with you. Item number one, my new breakfast. I am so into it. And it's been months at this point, and it's just, I never get tired of it. And every time I make it, I feel prouder and more pleased with myself than I did the day before. So at this point, I'm just like bursting with pride and smugness every morning when I make this breakfast. I'm going to tell you all about it. I needed a breakfast that incorporated protein, healthy fats, and some carbs, but that was easy to digest, didn't feel too heavy, and wasn't sweet. And I wanted it to be something that I would love eating, obviously. So here's what I started doing, and this is what I'm still doing. I put 2 eggs in a bowl, and then I put in 2 heaping tablespoons of a gluten-free pancake mix. And there are some that don't have any sugar in them. To me, a little bit of sugar being in it these days is okay with me as long as it's not massively sweet. So the one I've been buying is, I think it's the Bob's Red Mill one. I'll link it below. There are a couple actually that have worked really well for me. Some of them have dairy in them, which to me isn't ideal for the morning because it tends to sit a little heavier and take longer to digest. So I've kind of opted for a little bit of sugar as opposed to a little bit of dairy, but you could go either way. I have actually a couple of recommendations of gluten-free pancake mix that I've been using for this, all of which are great. You just have to choose which one you like the best. So I'll link them all down below. Okay. 2 eggs in the bowl, 2 heaping tablespoons of gluten-free pancake mix, sometimes a little bit less, like not that much. I'm not making pancakes really over here, just putting those tablespoons in to hold it all together and to provide a little bit of like a binding carb. Then I pour in like maybe a 1/4 cup, a little more of oat milk. And again, you could use any kind of milk or nut milk. We just like oat milk. That's the one that we have in the fridge all the time. And I haven't been measuring, I just eyeball it, but I think it's probably like between a 1/4 cup and 1/3 of a cup. I put in a little salt, whisk it all together with a whisk, put a little ghee into the frying pan. Again, I try not to eat too much dairy because it takes longer for me to digest, doesn't sit as well with me, but I really like ghee. So I usually put a little ghee in there. It's like clarified butter. So it's like butter, but it doesn't have any dairy solids in it. And then I pour the mixture into the pan, and it's like making a big pancake, but it fills the entire pan. So it's kind of like making a crepe, but it's not as thin as an actual crepe. So it's sort of like a cross between a pancake and a crepe. I think of it as eggy pancake because it's like a big pancake that has a higher egg content than most pancakes. And in that way, it's like a crepe. It's like either an eggy pancake or a fluffy crepe. But that's not the end of it. So it cooks for a little while. When it starts getting a little bit dry and bubbly on the top, I flip it over and I almost immediately like turn off the fire because I don't want it to get too dry. I like it when it's like a little bit jiggly inside. And then, this is a very important part, I put za'atar on it, which is like a Middle Eastern spice that has thyme and sumac and sesame seeds in it. I have a really good source of za'atar here where I live right now. I absolutely love za'atar. It's like my favorite thing to eat, my favorite spice. I have a huge thing of it. And it's like, I actually put a good bit on. You probably don't need to do as much as I do, but I literally cannot get enough of it. Then I put a little bit of olive oil on too to help the za'atar sort of like soak in to its place. And I also really love olive oil, and I'm a big consumer of healthy fats, right? The ghee, the olive oil, etc. Then we have the jiggly eggy pancake with olive oil and za'atar, basically. That's my breakfast. And it checks all of the boxes. It has all of the macros, but it's not too heavy. Once in a while, or I haven't been doing this lately, but at the beginning, I was so into it that I experimented with putting like a little bit of jam on it. And I found that when I ate it with jam, something quite sweet that actually has a lot of sugar, then I would feel like I'd eaten a really heavy breakfast and I would feel like I need to sit there and like let it digest. It would be bogging me down. But when I eat it with za'atar, when it's savory, and I think when it has that really big dose of spices in it, because spices help with digestion, like they kind of get you going. At least that's what I've read. I feel like it digests like a charm when I eat it with za'atar as opposed to when I eat it with jam. There's something about the fact that it's savory and a little bit oily and it's just a couple eggs and just a little bit of pancake mix. It is the perfect breakfast. It's like giving me everything that I want and need and none of what I don't want, which basically what I don't want is to feel like I ate a big breakfast and to feel like it's bogging me down. The second thing that's been cheering me up lately, or that I noticed when I started paying close attention to my daily life, that I was doing with relish and that I was like squeezing pleasure from in a desperate attempt to feel good, is vacuuming with my pretty new vacuum. And I've showed this in a vlog before. It was actually PR. It was like months ago at this point, Samsung was sending out some vacuums in PR. And we had just moved. And so I was like, oh my gosh, a vacuum would be such a great thing to like test around the house and be able to talk about. Little did I know that it was going to be so amazing. And I mean, I feel it's an expensive vacuum, okay? It's like a ridiculous vacuum. In fact, the vacuum is called the Bespoke Jet vacuum. The title of the vacuum, Bespoke. And it is this beautiful green color, matte green. And it looks like a sculpture. And I think that they designed it so that it doesn't look bad, just like sitting out. It actually kind of looks like something from Star Wars. It's really cool. I definitely take pleasure in the fact that it's so beautiful and that it's just so hilarious to have this like stunningly beautiful vacuum just like sitting out as part of our decor. But that's not why it's on the list. And that's not why I've been taking pleasure from it. Even though I tend to take a lot of pleasure from aesthetic things and things that are aesthetically designed well. For the vacuum, that would have just been a flash in the pan for it. I would have been like, oh, it's really beautiful. But if it wasn't super easy to use, it wouldn't be on this list. We've never had a vacuum that was so lightweight. And it's not like I can lift things. I'm not like a weakling. I'm not super twiggy. I'm strong, but I don't particularly love housework. And I think that having like a big heavy vacuum that you have to lug around and plug in, I think in the past has been more of an obstacle to me vacuuming than I realized. In fact, the obstacle to me ever vacuuming was the weight and cumbersome nature of the vacuum machine itself for my whole life. Now, having this vacuum, which weighs but a pound, I don't know how much it actually weighs, but it feels light as a feather compared to any other vacuum. It feels the same as like going to grab the broom. Its weight and its maneuverability is a non-issue. It's just like not part of the equation. And what I've learned is that when weight and maneuverability are taken out of the equation, I actually love vacuuming because it's so satisfying. Every day I'm like, I'm going to vacuum up that hair. And I just like get the vacuum and vacuum it. And those have been these like moments of pleasure for me. Who am I? I know I've never been someone who takes pleasure in housework like this, who enjoys like making something go from dirty to clean. I mean, I feel like everybody enjoys that to some degree, but I've never enjoyed it so much that the enjoyment obscures the annoyance of having to like put in time, or I guess the exhaustion of lugging around a heavy vacuum. In these trying times, vacuuming casually every day and just being able to wield the little stick vacuum like a magic wand, basically, in all the rooms of the house. And the fact that it works so well, that it's just like so beautifully engineered. It's very satisfying when it fills up, you take it and put it back on its base and push a button, and then the base like sucks the stuff that you vacuumed out of the chamber into the body of the stand. It's like we're vacuuming in the future. Okay. The third thing that I came up with when I really held my feet to the flames and I was like, Hannah, what is it that you're doing to keep your head above water right now? Because you know there are things, is this dressing for work thing. which if you follow me on Instagram, you'll already know about. A couple of weeks ago, I just promised myself and everyone on Instagram that I was going to start getting dressed for work on work days, like Monday through Friday. Even though I work for myself in the house, I don't need to dress formally. In fact, I could just stay in loungewear all day or stay in my pajamas all day, and it wouldn't make a difference. It does make a difference to one's morale. And more importantly for me, it's like, I love my beautiful clothes. I talk about fashion on my channel. I think about fashion. I'm thoughtful about what I buy, what I add to my closet. I mean, I made a whole video recently about getting dressed in the morning, and I found that I was not wearing, like I have not been wearing the majority of my closet, because every morning, even if I follow my 4 rules, every morning I go to my closet and I'm like, well, what are the parameters of my day? None. I'm not even going to be putting shoes on because I'm not leaving the house. So it doesn't matter. And then it's like, well, how do you want to feel? I'm like, well, I want to feel comfortable because I'm going to be at home. And it sort of just falls apart at the seams. Easy to just throw on sweatpants and sort of just like bow out of that process. It just starts to feel slubby and messy, and I start to feel sort of sludgy and not put together. And I feel like I'm living my life in this kind of grub state. Like I had been feeling like I was sort of going through weeks at a time in sort of a larval stage, like never actually transforming from the chrysalis into the butterfly, never actually getting dressed, but just going from like actual pajamas to 1 degree removed from pajamas, which is just like some kind of loungewear, back to pajamas to loungewear, and never like emerging. And I just had it. I think a lot of people went through this, and I sort of did in my own way during the pandemic, although there was a lot going on during that time for me, during the most intense parts of the pandemic in other ways. So this wasn't as much of a concern because I was distracted by a lot of other stuff. And also we were living with other people in the house. So there was a little bit more of like an atmosphere to dress for. Now it's just Joe and me, and we're just working all the time. And I think that I realized that maybe part of me was like waiting for the pandemic to end before I started wearing my clothes again. And I'm like, well, it's not as though everything to do with it is over and done, but this is my life. Like I work for myself. I work from home. Like this is my daily life. This is my work. And I'm in the house every day, not because of the pandemic, but because I work from home no matter what. So like just waiting for it to end that's not an effective strategy. And if I just keep waiting for it to end, I'm going to be waiting for the rest of my life potentially to start wearing my clothes, or I'll just wear them like on those occasions when I go see friends or when I go do things. But that's like 2% of my life. All of this is what drove me to decide that I was going to start dressing for work, make more of an effort, wear the nice clothes and wear shoes. I usually don't wear shoes in the house, but I've realized that putting on shoes with my outfit as a way of completing it and feeling more put together, it's worth it. It's worth it to be wearing shoes in the house right now for me, to just have that feeling that I've actually completely gotten dressed every day, even if I'm not going out. And let me tell you, it's been a little bit rocky because there have been some days where I get all dressed to work and then I'm just like, why am I sitting here in this skirt? The muscle needs strengthening, you know? So it's not as though it's all been like easy, like just flipping a switch and suddenly I'm like a new woman dressed professionally for work every day. There's been a little bit of a push and pull, but overall, it has been like a real light in my life, a real light in the day every day to have this challenge and to have determined that I'm going to try this thing. And sometimes the outfits come out really well and I feel really good, and I'm just really happy that I decided to do this. Follow me on Instagram because I'm posting my outfit of the day in stories every day over there and kind of updating people every day on how it's going to be dressing for work. Okay, the fourth thing that's been cheering me up, it's a media thing. It's just this weird album that I've been listening to on Spotify a lot. And I'm not going to talk about it for too long because you'll either like it or you won't. It's either for you or it's not. And I think you'll probably know right away. So there is a guy named Alan Watts who was, I think in the 70s, maybe 60s and 70s, a British thinker and philosopher who specialized in sort of translating the basic tenets of Hinduism and Buddhism for Westerners. And I've talked about him on YouTube before. He has a very musical and compelling way of speaking, sort of a circular way of speaking that just feels really laden with meaning, partly because it is, but it's partly stylistic, very much in the way of certain kinds of poetics. I have an appreciation for that kind of discourse, and I really like listening to Alan Watts lectures. And I also have an appreciation for the content, the stuff he is fundamentally trying to say in that style. I am just interested in him and have been for a long time. And I learned that there's like a remastering and what would it be called? It's an album. It's a musical work. It's the work of this musician called Akira the Don, who I think has done this with several thinkers, taken their speeches, their recorded speeches, remix them and combine them with beats and melodies in like the lo-fi music style, which is a genre that I really like, to produce these sort of musical, repetitive, spoken word music pieces. It's Alan Watts lo-fi, basically. And probably I've lost like 95% of you at this point, so I'm just going to close this out and move on. But if you like lo-fi, if you're interested at all, just click through and listen to this playlist, because it's, of all of what I'm telling you about today, it's probably the thing that I've been leaning on the hardest. I have been listening to it a lot, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm on drugs, even though I'm not. And I like that. Sometimes after I've been listening to it for a while, I just sort of, it feels like it alters your consciousness a little bit, which is the point. Like, that's the point of Alan Watts. That's what he was trying to do. Just like get you out of the rut of thinking that things are a certain way. And for some reason right now, not only do I feel like I desperately need that, but I also feel like it's working really well. Like, this Alan Watts lo-fi is working on me better than it has before. Just listen to it. Just try it. Okay. If you listen to 2 minutes, the first 2 minutes, and if you hate it, you'll know right away. And if you don't, maybe you'll be like me and you'll listen to it 100 times in a row and expand your mind. Let's move on. So number 5, bringing it back to what we all know and love. I realized when I sat myself down to make this list that truly one of the things that has been cheering me up on an almost daily basis is working with that Pat McGrath palette. It's so funny because I had a lot to say about it when I filmed the review, about it, the fact that it didn't have the special shades in it. And I still feel all of that. I mean, none of what I said in the review is no longer true. And if you'll recall, one of the things I said in the review was that I have absolutely loved the looks that I've been doing with the palette, and it's given me a lot of pleasure to use it in the day-to-day. And what I'm trying to say is that that's so true that it's making it into this video and onto this list, because when I cast my mind back over the last several weeks and I think about the little things every day that I'm like hanging my hat on, you know what I mean? Like the little things that are sort of like those tent pegs that are like holding me down, where I'm like, oh yeah, that was a sweet moment, or that I felt joy, or I felt like that sense of goodness, or I felt in touch with myself or something. You know, I'm thinking about like my breakfast that I'm really loving eating, making and eating, vacuuming, and how much pleasure it's giving me, listening to this Akira the Don, Alan Watts Wave album, dressing for work, and using the Pat McGrath palette to do eye looks. And then the way that it's making me feel to have those sort of glossy, easy, washy, watercolory eye looks on my eyes over the course of the day. It's like, even if I'm struggling a little bit with stuff, at least I'm looking sort of gleamy and splinky. And that helps. It helps. You know, every little bit helps. And that has really been one of the little bits lately. So good news for the Pat McGrath palette. I thought when I first opened it up and I was disappointed by the color story, then when I realized that it didn't have the special shades, I was like, oh man, I'm going to totally regret having spent so much of my review budget on this. It just felt like all signs pointed to it being a dud. And then in fact, it's just a really, really, really good palette. Not distinctive particularly in a bunch of specific ways that I went into in that video. But for me, at this moment, kind of landed in my lap at this time when it has just provided so much daily pleasure, and I had to include it. It's those glossy lived-in glam looks, those glossy, smudgy lived-in glam looks looks. I can't get enough. It's not what I'm wearing today. I just sort of threw this eye look on in a Patreon video while I was talking about something else. And I used like a Kaja, use a little bit of Kaja eyeshadow. And you can tell that it's not what I'm wearing today because this just looks a little more structured and less dynamic and not as glossy. It's fine. I mean, this eye look is fine, but you know what I mean. Those Pat McGrath eye looks, I've had it on in almost every video for weeks. And you can see what I'm talking about if you look back over the videos, the way that it just works. I just filmed a trying new makeup video. And one of the things I tried that I expected to hate but ended up loving is this like glitter lip crystal. I cannot stop looking at my shiny, shiny lips. It's Pink Opal from Chantecaille. I thought it was going to be like really, really 90s. And maybe it is. But if there's something wrong with that, then I don't want to be right. Today's video, what is it? It's like updates on a whole bunch of stuff. What has happened is that in the part of my brain where I collect video ideas, information that I want to impart in YouTube videos, general things of interest that have anything to do that are like even remotely related to or adjacent to the topic of my YouTube channel, like the stuff that I talk about here. There's a little corner in that room in my brain in which I've been stashing like little updates. Things have changed about things that I've talked about before, but none of them fits elegantly into like another video. Like it's all stuff that I can't place it anywhere else. So I decided to just stick all of these little updates together and film it as one video. So some of them are like product related, like products that I'm using or products I've talked about before, and I'm like updating you on my relationships with those products. And some of them is just like life things, like things that I'm doing, feeling, stuff about the channel and how certain videos are unfolding over these weeks. I'm just sitting down to give you an update on anything and everything that needs an update. If this happens to be your first time to my channel, hopefully this will still be relevant. I mean, the information will still matter even if it's not an update for you, but rather the first time you're hearing about any of this. I hope you'll stick around. I hope you'll subscribe if you like it. This is mostly a beauty channel, but I talk about other things too, and we're talking about other things today. Let's go ahead and get right into the meat of the video. So the first update is like really beauty related, product related, routine related, and practical. And it's also related specifically to one of you because it was probably in the last video in which I reviewed a huge pile of skincare all at once that I talked about some of the body care products that I've been using. I talked about the fact that some of the body care products I've been using are like body acne products. And I talked about the fact that I've for a long time now been struggling with a resurgence of body acne on the chest and back. One of you in the comments in that video said, body acne on the chest and back, it sounds like it could be hair product related or hair care related, as though like something I'm using in my hair is getting onto my chest and back and clogging my pores there. And when I read that comment, I had this total aha moment because I feel like it's been going on for a long time, but I've also been using New Wash, which is the product that I use to shampoo and condition my hair. I've been using it for kind of a long time, like over a year at this point, maybe even a year and a half, however long I've had a shag haircut. And I've made a lot of videos about my hair care routine, about what I use to wash my hair. I'll try to remember to link some of those in the description box down below in case you're curious about that and you haven't seen them. And I'm not going to go into it at length right now, but in brief, I'll tell you that New Wash, it's a co-wash. So it's like a shampoo and conditioner in one. It's just a really, really nourishing, rich product with which to cleanse your hair, and it nourishes your hair and scalp at the same time. But it's really like a thick butter. It's like a hair mask that you work into the roots of the hair. It's this whole long process, you know what I mean? Because like it doesn't foam. It doesn't have those soap qualities that can be stripping. It's kind of just like a really, really thick hair mask or conditioner that you're working enough into your hair and rinsing enough through your hair that it actually cleanses at the same time as it's conditioning. It's absolutely fantastic. And you can pry this from my cold, dead hands, especially with this haircut. It has proved to be the perfect product with which to cleanse my hair. And it also works really well with my routine. I only wash my hair once a week, if that. And again, I've talked about all of that before, and none of that has changed in terms of how I'm caring for my hair. None of that has changed. But I realized when I read that comment that I think that this resurgence in body acne actually does roughly correlate with when I first got my hair cut this way and I switched over to New Wash. And it makes total sense because, yeah, it's full of oils and it's a hair care product is not designed to go on the body. And I have this long, incredibly thick hair. So about once a week, I'm putting a ton of this like creamy stuff into my hair, working in, and then I'm rinsing it off and it's going all down my chest and back. And of course, I can see now that it's probably just clogging my pores in my chest and back. And even though I wash my body after that, my hair is still wet, maybe still retaining a little product, and it's like lying on those places. It was a huge aha moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the answer that I've been seeking. Since then, I have changed I have added to my self-care routine on hair washing days to try to solve this problem. So here's what I've been doing. After I have finished washing, rinsing my hair, what I do is I stick my head out of the shower and I get my Kitsch hair towel, which I didn't bring down here with me. I think it's in the laundry, but it's a microfiber towel that is designed, it's like a hair turban that wraps up your hair and keeps it snug on your head. And I've actually worn it in past videos. So if you watch my past hair care videos, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like pink with a palm leaf print. So I like stick my head out of the shower and rub my hair dry with a towel. And then I put that hair towel back on to get all of my wet hair up off of my face and body. And then I get back in the shower, but I keep my head out of the stream of water. And sometimes I have to direct the stream of water so it's a little bit lower. So it's just hitting me starting right here and I can keep my head out of the water. That's also how I take showers without wetting my hair all of the rest of the days of the week. And then I engage in a rigorous and multi-level body, chest, and back cleansing process. And here's what I've been doing. I've just been using like everything that I have that I think could possibly be helping completely cut, dissolve, destroy, and exfoliate away the new wash that I think there's residue of on my chest and back. So I've just been throwing like everything in the kitchen sink at the problem, basically. You probably don't need to use, if you're going to follow my footsteps, if you for some reason have the same issue and you want to try what I'm trying, you don't need to use absolutely everything I've been using. But here's what I've been using. I usually start with the Soft Services buffing bar, which is a really good exfoliating product. And I have the blue one, which is like their regular one, the year-round version in my shower, but it's all kind of half used and melted. This is a new one, clearly. And this one is like limited edition holiday one in a spice scent, which I really like. The other one's unscented. I kind of prefer this one. I'm looking forward to using it. The little exfoliate, the scrubbies are really, really small, really quite intense and harsh, especially if the bar has dried. Once it softens and gets a little bit wet, it's a little bit easier, but I feel like it's really, really, really doing the most. Like it is exfoliating and sloughing away a lot of skin and then whatever's on the skin when I use it after I've washed my hair. From there, I usually, for good measure, go in with the Necessaire Gommage. This is also a body exfoliator. It's more of a body wash with little exfoliating particles mixed into it, and it's gentler than the bar from Soft Services. But it also has some alpha hydroxy acids in it. So I feel like I start with the intense physical exfoliation, then I go in with a little bit of a more gentle physical exfoliation, but adding in some chemical exfoliation. So like getting deep into the pores and making sure that if there's anything clogging them, it's getting exhumed a bit. And from there, I go in with this much despised product that I've discussed before. This is a Kosas Sport body wash, which is like an anti-acne body wash. It says it has glycolic and lactic acids and fruit enzymes in it. I can tell that it's really active because especially after having exfoliated my chest and back with those other products, when I put this on, it stings. I can like feel that it has acid in it and it's stinging. But it's worth it to me. Again, it's just like once a week. And I feel like it's what's required to help heal from like all of this acne and all of these clogged pores I've had all over my chest and back for like a year and a half at this point. The thing I don't like about this, it's not the stinging. I actually don't mind the stinging. It's not like it's deeply painful. It's just that I can feel it working, you know? The thing I don't like about it is the smell. I talked about it in that skincare video. I feel like it's a weird combination of like floral and too much white floral, but they're also trying to have some like spice in there and it's not working for me. But the product itself really is working for me. So that's what I do in the shower. And then when I get out of the shower, I've actually started using this product product, the Soft Services Smoothing Solution. It has lactic acid and urea in it, so it's also exfoliating and smoothing. It's supposed to help with things like KP, crepey skin, ingrown hairs. It's not specifically for acne, but it is a gentle exfoliant. And it's not just that I don't want to have more breakouts. I'm also trying to kind of like heal and smooth the skin because it's scarred from all of the breakouts that I have been having. I actually besmirched this as well in that video when I talked about skincare. It has, to me, kind of a gross smell. It's like a sticky gel. I don't like using it, but I'm really trying to do the most. I physically don't like using it. It also stings when it goes on after I've done all this intense exfoliation when I get out of the shower. But I'm here to report to you that it's working, especially on my back. My back is like the first to recover. I don't have any acne on my back anymore, and the scars have faded and my skin is like coming back really smooth and clear like it used to be. I still have a little bit of texture still on my chest. It's not exactly like completely smooth and blemish free. I think that my chest kind of got the worst of it, and so there are just some long clogged pores. It's taking a long time for like everything to exhume. It's not quite as clear yet as my back, but it's working. And so I thank you so much, whoever left that comment. We've gotten at the root of the problem. I feel excited about having done this like beauty problem solving thing. Excited to have found a solution that doesn't involve ceasing to use New Wash because I really love it. And very grateful to have these really lovely, intense body smoothing, exfoliating products to test because I was able to put them into action, and it's all sort of proof of concept for them. I would say if you are starting from having nothing and you want to do something like this, I'd actually just go with the Soft Services. I feel like of all of these products, the two most effective ones, the heavy lifters, are the Soft Services Scrubbing Bar and this Smoothing Exfoliant Gel. And I also know that Soft Services, I think, has some products that are more specifically anti-acne, which I would totally trust as well. The important thing, though, is just knowing, having found out what it was that was causing the problem and being able to take these preventative measures against that moment every single week when I was like coating my chest and back in a pore clogging substance. Okay, channel update. I mean, this isn't like a full channel update, but just a little bit of a small thing. The Lisa Eldridge video, I just keep getting questions about it in the comments. I promise it's coming. I've already filmed some B-roll for it. I'm testing the products like around the clock. The issue, it's a couple of things. One, it's a lot of products, right? I got 2 palettes, 2 singles, and 2 lipsticks, and it just takes weeks to like thoroughly test that many eyeshadows because I only have 2 eyes, and I'm also having to test other things and intermittently in between because I'm making content that involves other things. So I'm only just getting to the point where I have what I think is like an opinion about all of the products or an assessment of them that is robust, like that is backed up by enough actual experience that I'll feel comfortable, sharing it with you. But also my order took a really long time to arrive. Like I ordered literally 5 minutes after the launch. Like I was on there with my finger hovering over the button. I ordered on the launch date directly after the launch. And there were people posting their Lisa Eldridge makeup reviews before I even received my package. I don't know why it took so long to ship, but it took like at least a week. Usually Lisa Eldridge shipping is really fast. It took like at least a week, if not longer, to leave the warehouse. And then it took a really long time to get to me as well. So it was like a long delay before I could even start reviewing the products. Now I'm trying to be really thorough about reviewing the products. And then because it's going to be an insanely thorough review with a lot of B-roll footage and a lot of segments, it's going to take a long time to edit once it's filmed. I'm going for quality over haste. The ship has completely sailed on me posting that Lisa Eldridge review within the window of time when it was like highly relevant to the makeup community. I was never even in the running to do that because I didn't get the makeup in time. And also I really set myself up by ordering so much of it. But I know that a lot of you are like over there chewing your nails over it. So I just wanted to say, number one, it's definitely in the works. It is like actively in the works. So don't worry that I'm not going to post it. And number two, maybe cool your heels a little bit because it's It's probably going to take, I actually thought it was going to be up by mid-December, and I might even have replied to some comments saying it was going to be up by mid-December. But no, it's going to be rolling in like with the new year. It's going to be like Happy New Year, Lisa Eldridge review, like hour-long Lisa Eldridge review. But it's coming, and I hope that it'll be worth the wait. One of my list items, I've been keeping a list of things that I wanted to include in this video, like updates. One of the things on the list says Instagram presence, and I don't know what I intended to say. I don't know what I was thinking when I put that on the list. I might just have meant to update you on the fact that I'm like going hard on Instagram right now. Although as I sit here, I think when I wrote it on the list originally, it was like 2 weeks ago and everything was still just cracking along on Instagram. These exact past 2 weeks, I've had to step back from Instagram a little bit because I've had a lot going on just personally, and it was like something had to give, and that was actually the thing that gave. So I feel a little bit silly saying this now at this very moment because it hasn't been a very respectable showing in the past 2 weeks. But for the most part, since August, I have been trying to be, I just got something in my eye. Disaster. I have been trying to be an Instagram influencer. I've been like posting my outfit of the day every day, making reels about makeup. I used to be just a YouTuber who had an Instagram account on which I occasionally posted, and you could kind of like sometimes see something from me over there, but it was just stagnant for months on end. Like I wasn't really engaged. In August, I engaged, and I've tried to stay engaged. I'm like really trying to do it and really enjoying it. I like making reels. I like posting my outfit of the day. It's a much better outlet for me to showcase what I wear and to talk about fashion than YouTube, just because of like the way that the direction in which my channel has grown. I love making fashion content on YouTube, but it requires a massive effort to like change around the setup, and we have to devote like 2 or 3 beauty videos worth of energy to make one fashion video. Maybe more like 4 or 5 beauty videos worth of time and energy go into making one fashion video. But over on Instagram, it's sort of the opposite. It's like fashion is the main thing, and I'm featuring beauty there as well, but it's a little bit more on the backseat. So I think that what Past Hannah meant by putting this on the list was just to tell you that if you are someone who's connected to me, like here on YouTube, and you also enjoy Instagram, but the last time you checked, I was but a mere wisp over on Instagram, like I was just a ghost of myself, not really actually active. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is no longer the case. And if you aren't following me on Instagram, then, please do. I'm really doing the most over there. Or I'm doing the most in my own little way. Okay, the next thing on the list, quick update on Joe's podcast, The Banging of the Shrew. It is now all published. All 6 episodes are out. So you can listen to them all the way through, which I actually think there's something to be said for, because I've been reminded of this as I've been listening through all of the episodes. My favorite thing to do is to put it on when I'm like doing things around the house, like laundry and tidying up and just generally like resetting the house. I love to put an episode on because I'll like finish a task, but then I'll want to keep listening. So it'll like it'll make me find another task in the house to do so that I can like keep listening. But listening to multiple episodes in a row and having there be sort of momentum to the act of listening to it, I've been reminded recently that there's something to be said for that because it is Shakespearean language. You get into this kind of trance, like when you start listening to it, it can feel a little bit like jumping into cold water, you know what I mean? Because the order of the syntax and the cadences are just a little bit different from how we talk in the everyday. So it takes a minute to get like your ear attuned to it. But the thing that's magical about Shakespeare, and the magic of that has been retained by this because it's such an accurate parody of Shakespeare tonally and also just structurally, the language. The thing that's magical about it is that and this is true of just poetry in general too, you can like get meaning from it even though it feels like it's sort of going into your brain in like a sideways way. Like the very front level of your comprehension of language might not have processed it exactly the way you usually process language, and yet the meaning of the sentence will go in the back door, and you'll just get it. And there's something so pleasurable about that. It's sort of transcendent. It's like a vibe. It's like walking through a museum and you're seeing paintings, these huge abstract paintings, but you just know what they're about. You know what I mean? You're just getting what they're about. You're receiving on like this visceral level rather than the pedantic level of logical information that you might get, I don't know, if you're like reading an instruction manual. This is just to say, the play in and of itself as a piece of artwork that has been transformed into this unbelievable fictional podcast with these beautiful performances is great, just like in the raw. But the experience of getting into the zone, of hearing it, is sort of like an added benefit. It's like its own separate thing. And it's nice to have more than just one episode available and to be able to stay in that zone, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that for some of you, especially if you aren't that into Shakespeare, if you haven't like seen a lot of Shakespeare plays, if you haven't spent a lot of time with Shakespearean language, you might actually have a better experience, like feel more connected to the podcast if you listen to it straight through. If you like put it on when you have a 2.5-hour task or a 3-hour task, like painting the wall in your house or like winding all your rolls of yarn or like clearing out your closet, decluttering your closet or something like that, right? If you have like a long multi-hour project and you put it on to listen straight through, you might find yourself vibing with it in a way that you wouldn't if you were just listening to like 1.5-hour episode at a time every week spread over the course of several weeks. If for some reason you've missed every reference to my husband's amazing project, in brief, I'll tell you, it is a retelling of The Taming of the Shrew set in a brothel. It is in Elizabethan English, in iambic pentameter. It is as if it was written by Shakespeare, except that it is explicit and you'll probably want to listen to it on your headphones. And it's just really good. It's really good. And the further you get into it, the deeper it gets. And it really starts handling, in spite of the complete absurdity of its dirtiness, like on the surface, it really starts handling deep, fundamental questions about relationships and power as it gets into like the 5th and 6th episode. So I wanted to just give you an update now that the entire podcast is available as a complete series. You can download it all in one fell swoop and listen to it all in one fell swoop, and I hope that you will. Okay, here's an incredibly sweet update to something that I've talked about recently that also involves a couple of beauty products. So if you saw my gift guide, then you will have seen me talking about Takemichi Beauty Room, which I said in that video is a beautiful online shop. I mean, exquisitely curated, exquisitely designed. It's just a whole feeling, a whole thing, just visiting the website. And I've loved it for years. I think I discovered it like kind of early in the pandemic, and I've loved it for years. And I've placed a little order here and a little order there over the years for little things like incense matches, beautiful soap. It's an example of extremely thoughtful, extremely tasteful curation of things that have beauty and usefulness in equal measure, which I just get along with that so well. Skincare, body care, home scent, candles, but also like some glassware, just beautiful little useful things, but everything is special in some way that is just quite elevated and yet earthy and accessible. I don't know. It's just a beautiful shop. So I've talked about it before. I talked about it in that gift guide because I feel like the little incense matches that they carry and little incense leaves make really good small gifts. And I'm aware that it's a small independent store. You know what I mean? Like in gift guides like that, I always end up talking about things that you can get from Amazon or like things from Sephora, brands that everyone's heard of, brands that are connected to corporations or owned by corporations and all of this stuff. And I always try to balance that out by including a handful of totally independent, small shops that are run by like a person that have that stamp of like specialness and like a single person's artistic vision or a single person's project. So in that video, I talked about Earlywood, which is the wooden utensils. That's like a small independent shop. And Takemichi Beauty Room is also a small independent shop. However, I had never been to the brick and mortar store. I didn't really know who the owner was. I think I had tagged them on Instagram a couple of times and she had written and said, "Thank you so much for tagging me," right? But we hadn't really like talked. So that was the status of me with Takemichi Beauty Room the last time that I mentioned them on camera. For a whole bunch of reasons, mysterious, strange, dreamy reasons that I won't go into here, I happened to be unexpectedly and in a very last minute way in New York for like 20 hours last week. I was staying with my friend Simbri, and we had a couple of hours to kill before my train left to bring me back to where I live. We went to Takamichi Beauty Room. We just like showed up. We like looked it up on the map and we like showed up at Takamichi Beauty Room. And it's exactly what you would imagine. It's like the physical manifestation of the online shop. And we went in and we were warmly, lovingly greeted by this just glowing, sweet, exuberant, open-hearted feeling woman who was like behind the till. And we went in, we like bundled ourselves in because it was kind of cold outside. And I thought she probably was the owner, right? Just because of the overall vibe. So I said to her, I'm so excited to be able to come here in person because I'm a huge fan of Takamichi Beauty Room and I have a YouTube channel. I've talked about it a couple of times in the YouTube channel. And suddenly she like recognized me and she was like, oh my gosh, you're Hannah. She was like, my online orders suddenly skyrocketed and it took me a really long time to figure out why. But then I finally traced it back to the gift guide. So those of you who saw the gift guide and then went on to purchase from Takamichi Beauty Room, it makes a huge difference to a small shop. You know what I mean? It's like when I mention something that's sold at Sephora and then some of you go buy it, it's like I'm glad that I'm able to give you the information about something that is going to serve you well. And that's all in the system of the beauty space. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it was just a sharp reminder of what a dramatic difference it makes to small business owners when people choose to shop small. She was just over the moon about it. So I wanted to pass that along to you, those because I know some of you are watching actually have placed an order from Takamichi Beauty Room because you see me talk about before. And I bought a few small things. I got this little bath bomb. I mean, this is an example of the kind of thing that she has. And some more of the Hebe matches. I got a couple of things I'm going to give as gifts to people, so I'm not going to show them here. But needless to say, it was a glorious experience. It was just special to have like an in-person connection like that. Okay, I feel like I've been talking forever. I thought that this was going to be a short video because it was just me catching you up on a few little things. I guess I haven't learned my lesson about that by now, but I just briefly want to touch on these last two things. So without getting into detail or going on about it for too long, I just feel like it makes sense to update you on the work that I've been doing with my friend Julia Frodal because I've talked about her compassion class a couple of times. Julia is a really gentle, wise, brilliant person whose work is to guide people basically like into their own interior, like into their own inner lives and help them grow. I've known her for a really long time. I mean, we were connected long before she started doing this work in the way that she's doing it now, which is like robustly with online courses and with one-on-one work. So I've talked about the compassion class before, which is a group class that she teaches regularly. I don't think I mentioned the dream tending workshop on YouTube, but I posted about it on Instagram. So I took that as well, and I'm in the 4th week of it, and that has been incredible. But the update that I wanted to give you guys is that I've also been doing some one-on-one work with Julia. I feel like it's worth mentioning because at times I've touched on, I guess, what I would consider like the importance of inner work, shadow work, getting to know oneself better. I've talked about therapy before in talking about kind of like my journey away from overspending and just towards balance, or my journey away from being miserable, not loving myself, towards being okay with myself in a way that stabilizes things like my relationship with beauty and my relationship with spending. Like that's the seed of my channel. And I've gone back to discuss it time and time again, kind of touched base on it time and time again. And whenever I talk about it, I talk about the importance of the journey into the inner world, into the interior. And I have found working with Julia to be, it's like another level of self-inquiry. It has been particularly transformative for me this season. And this round of sessions that I've been doing with her one-on-one, delving into the inner world through dreams, but also through other methods, through other ways of questioning. You know, it's not really the thing to like go into extreme detail about that right now, or like, I'm definitely not equipped to share it publicly, but I do want to share the fact that I've been doing that publicly because I'm so grateful to Julia for being who she is, and because she offers such an array of kind of entry points into that kind of work. The compassion class in particular has a sliding scale, and there are even scholarships available to that. And you know, she, like the owner of Takamichi Beauty Room, is a small business owner, and every little mention, I think, helps. And if there's anything that that I hope will grow and like take root for more people. It's like this kind of thinking, this kind of work. It has truly defined my experience of moving through the world over the past several months. And it just didn't make sense to give like a life update without mentioning that. So I'll link Julia down below, her website. I'll try to mention by name some of the classes that I've taken from her in case you are interested. And lastly, this is kind of a channel update too. I just think it makes sense to like update you a little bit on how I'm thinking right now about my makeup collection, because I've just done this ruthless declutter. And so now I have my personal makeup collection in my vanity, which I'm hoping to spotlight soon on my channel. It's like highly edited, finally something that I can just like live with clarity and peace. Kind of like when I did the minimalist closet for a month. My makeup collection is kind of like the makeup version of that. And I'm having the same experience living with it, right? I feel the same sense of ease, a release of the usual kind of decision fatigue that I feel. I see where everything is. Everything's much more visually calm. There isn't the sense of like chaotic energy coming from that corner of the room like there used to be. And it's really made me think that I want to put in place a firmer barrier for entry for new products into my collection. You know, I used to do like the reckoning with PR where I would sit down with things that had come in PR and decide whether I was going to keep them or not. It stopped making logistical sense to do that, which is like the flow of things and how I review them. But that means that that barrier has become really porous and things will sort of just float their way over into my makeup collection, especially storage-wise. There isn't like a clear delineation between what I'm testing and what I own. And so things will just sort of like float into my makeup collection and stay without me having made a conscious decision about them. And I've just kind of had it, especially now that I'm experiencing the joy of a very carefully curated and edited collection. I think I might start really truly putting everything that comes to me for review, really seriously keeping it in purgatory, like really keeping it out of my makeup collection, keeping my personal collection the size that it is. Like I don't want it to grow very much. And if it does grow because new things get added, I'm going to declutter. I'm going to purge. I really don't want drawers and drawers full of makeup anymore. That's how I'm feeling right now. To me, it's like a furthering of the division between the personal and the professional. It's like, as someone who reviews makeup as part of her work, I have the benefit of being able to sometimes keep the makeup that I review, but I want that to feel like a bigger deal going forward. I want it to feel like a bigger deal when something like crosses that divide. And I would like to move into a mode in which my default is to not keep it. I actually haven't really thought this through. I'm kind of just like talking myself through it right now, but I put the declutter on the list as something to talk about, to give an update on, and makeup collection philosophy as something that I wanted to give an update on. And I think that what I meant by that when I put it on the list was that I'm feeling like my current philosophy, my personal makeup collection philosophy, is that I don't want to own anything that's not actively in rotation. And I only have room for like 6 or 7 eyeshadow palettes to literally be in rotation, like be in my drawer, be things that I'm using all the time. I only have room for a certain number of blushes to actually be actively in rotation. And if I start exceeding the number of things that I can be actively using all at one time, I'm going to declutter because I really, really want to keep a lid on it. That's how I'm feeling right now. I'll let you know if and when things change because they may. Try and walk the middle path over here. You know what I mean? I think that going to the extreme in either direction isn't the solution for me personally. But with this one massive declutter that I've done here in the winter of 2022 has come an actual shift in what I conceive of wanting for myself. For this year, since we moved here, until this declutter, I've conceived of my makeup collection as being something that kind of lives half in storage and then gets cycled into use on my vanity or gets cycled into use into my drawers. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want there to be few enough things in use that I can always store all of them in my drawers and see all of them all the time. So I'm hoping to give you a tour of my new decluttered vanity. Keep an eye out for that. I'll make some content in that space once it's all completely done and completely set up. So you'll at least be able to have like imagery to associate with what I'm talking about. I have been feeling like an absolute pile of garbage lately. I feel like it has been several days since I really got myself together. I also weirdly feel like this has been the premise of a video before, maybe recently. I guess it's worth saying that from time to time I come to you a broken woman, or rather a pile of garbage, just a person who, for one reason or another, and really it's just life's ups and downs, right? I come to you as someone who has been going through a down patch and just hasn't been able to do the little things that help get me out of that. And usually I show up when I've got like my first foot on the bottom rung of the ladder and I'm like finally determined to rise. And that's the case today. I woke up this morning feeling like, okay, I can do it. And I basically decided to film myself going up the ladder instead of going up the ladder on my own behind the scenes and then sitting down to film as if nothing had ever been a struggle. I also decided to throw in a little bit of what's cheering me up right now content so that it wouldn't just be like a cosmetic improving of the self and of the mood, but my hope is that by talking about the things that have been great lately, I would also kind of remind myself of all the good that there is in my life and along the way share with you some of the things that have been good for me recently. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. My name is Hannah. This is mostly a beauty channel, so me putting on makeup while I talk about stuff is sort of par for the course. Sometimes I review new makeup, but I'm also just fundamentally interested in aesthetics at large, how beautiful things can add value to our lives, but the fact that there's a limit to what beautiful things can do for us. And I'm actually going to talk about some of that in this video too, not just the makeup. So if you like it, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Okay, so the first steps that I took to feeling like something other than a pile of garbage, like something that cut above a pile of garbage, I've already taken. And there have been actually quite many of them. I'm going to put on makeup while I tell you. No. This campaign started, I guess it started when I woke up this morning. You know what? It actually started before I went to sleep last night. I took some measures to have a really good night's sleep. I had a little extra magnesium calm. It's like this powdered magnesium that helps with sleep. Took a little extra dose, put myself to bed a little early. I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to sleep through the night and have energy tomorrow. So I did that. And then I woke up and I was like, I'm tired of feeling like a pile of garbage. I'm going to wash my hair and dye my eyebrows. I'm basically growing out my bangs. I've stopped trimming them and I think I'm going to let them join the rest of the hair and see how I feel. But because I only wash my hair once every week, and actually this time it had stretched to like at least 10 days. See previous comments about me having felt like a pile of garbage for a long time. So because I don't wash it very frequently and because my hair grows really fast, it's like literally every time I wash and dry it, my bangs are a new length. It's like really different. So today I got this big swoop over here and they're really quite long enough, covering my brows. These are true curtain bangs, so that's exciting. But speaking of the brows, I dyed them kind of skinny, but very dark. I'm feeling it. And just those two things instantly made me feel like the situation was improving, like some of the garbage was getting cleared up. But then I went the extra distance and I applied these. This is another style of those Kiss Impress press-on nails, the ones that don't use glue, but that stay for a really long time. I am literally impressed by them. They're peel and stick. Like you peel the backing off and you stick. You press them down firmly to sort of activate the adhesive, but it's just a sticker. Like they're sticking on with stickers. The first set that I had on lasted a week through a bath and several showers. I couldn't believe it. And then the great thing is when they start falling off, because it's like this sticky adhesive, one will come very, very loose. You'll feel that it's loose, but it won't go flying off because like part of the adhesive will still be sticking. So unlike glue nails, which are like on until they're not, and then as soon as they're not, they're like flying off and getting lost. Or, you're like out at a restaurant, one of your nails has fallen off, and in order to get it back on, you have to glue it back on. With these, it's like you're out at a restaurant, one of the nails has essentially fallen off, but it's still like hanging on. It's still there. So it feels loose, like a loose tooth, but your nails still look intact to anyone who's looking, and you can keep track of it easily. Like it's not going to fall off and get lost in the restaurant floor. Anyway, big fan. This is a style I'm wearing today. I got them at Ulta, actually. I used some of my channel budget on them because they are so useful for situations like this where I'm like, I'm going to film today, I want to put myself together, and then it's just like peel and stick, bam, bam, bam. So I did that, and the last step was I put on a little bit of jewelry. Wouldn't normally maybe wear this necklace with this more casual top, but I was like, I'm trying to get it together. And I feel like I've come a long way. I haven't even started putting makeup on. I've come a long way. A little bit of self-care can take you a long way. So speaking of putting makeup on, I brought this skincare down here to show you. This came in PR, and I get a bit of skincare in PR, and I'll test it and then maybe I'll tell you about it like in a skincare routine video if it has impressed me. Some skincare kind of comes and goes through my life and it's not distinctive enough for me to tell you about it. And it's also not, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't mention it in like a fails video or anything. It's just, I only bring things to the camera if I'm feeling really excited about them and I feel like there's a reason. And this brand, literally as soon as I opened these and started using these products, I was like, I can't wait to tell my peeps about this. So first of all, the brand, I'll be brief because this is sort of like an accessory to the video, although this is something that's cheering me up, to be perfectly frank. If you're interested, you can look it up yourself, so I'll just give you a quick overview. The brand is based on slugging, which is the idea of putting like a thick, occlusive layer of something on top of all of your evening skincare and sleeping in it to keep everything locked in, to keep moisture locked in. So they make this slugging balm, which is like a moisture locking occlusive balm. The brand is called Future Wise. And you know, that's what a slugging product should look like. It's really soft though and melty and lovely and absolutely does exactly what it's supposed to do. But I've fallen even harder for this, which is their barrier repair cream. It's also super moisturizing and kind of locking in of skincare and moisture, but it's a little bit more lightweight. It's like a day cream. This is the way the packaging looks. It's just so awesome. And that's the way that the little pump looks inside. And that's the cream. The packaging is just so good. And you know, it wouldn't matter if the products weren't, but they really nailed it. This brand just launched at Target and it's not super cheap. The products are like $25, but it's also not wildly expensive and it's super accessible. And that got me excited about sharing it too. So I like this so much because it's just so silky. It's like the perfect mid-weight, not too heavy, but also not a gel cream. Or it kind of does feel like it has qualities of a gel cream, but like a heavy gel cream. Reminds me of K-Beauty. Like it has the elegance of a K-Beauty formulation. It's the kind of thing that I'm not surprised to come across in K-Beauty, but that does surprise me a little bit to come across from a newly launched American brand. So what I'm trying to say is that I like it so much that I've been like priming my skin with it. I feel like I'm going to go through this like a wildfire. I've just been using it morning and night. At night, I've been using it under this, mixing it and layering it with my other skincare with actives and stuff. So I'm just going to let that be my primer. I'm going to start in with skin, just my trusty old Exa Green Color Corrector, Rose Ink Concealer. I'm going to use a brush. I've been rubbing my base products into my skin with my face. Help. I've been using my hands to rub products into my skin, which I do think is the most effective overall method, but it's just a little bit more labor intensive. And I feel like a pile of garbage and I want to just go the quick and dirty route and use a brush, diffuse and spread and have like a really thin layer. Who cares if it doesn't all get worked in? Like that's kind of how I'm feeling. And while I do this, I'm going to tell you about the books that have been cheering me up because that's the brief I've set myself for this video, to basically do a casual version of what's cheering me up right now while I cheer myself up by putting myself together, because I feel like that will be a double whammy. Reminding myself that there's a lot of good in my life, sharing some of my finds with you, ending up better for it on the other side in a bunch of little ways. So 2 books, one book and 1 book series have really gotten me in their grips lately, just retroactively scanning for subject-verb disagreement, but I think I did it correctly. The book series is one that I think some of you might have recommended to me because when I finally decided to read them, the title was quite familiar. And actually, another book by this same writer, Naomi Novak, Uprooted, I did read a while back and it was a recommendation from in the comments. So thank you to whoever it was who recommended Uprooted to me. You really sold it to me in the comments with the way you described it. And as soon as I was done with whatever I was reading at the time, I read Uprooted. And it's like a one-off. She writes these like, some of her books are sort of like retellings of famous fairy tales, but in a fresh and sort of slightly subversive way, I would say. So Uprooted isn't the first in a series. It's just like a one-off book. And it's light in its way, but really fun to read. Well done. And it was totally spot on for me. Like it's exactly the kind of thing I need right now for like my bedtime reading. So I quite enjoyed it, but I didn't go on to investigate more of the writing of Naomi Novak, which might tell you how I ended up feeling about Uprooted. Like I really loved it while I was reading it. And then I got to the end. And I think if there had been another one in the series, I would have read it, but I sort of just wandered off rather than being like, I'm going to devour everything she's ever written. But then my friend Shori, who I was visiting in New York a couple of weeks ago, we have the same taste in books and we're always like swapping titles. And she was like, you have to read the Scholomance series. which turned out also to be by Naomi Novak. So I was like, oh yeah, I read Uprooted. And she was like, oh, well then you should definitely read it. And I was happy to do that. I feel like I'm always running out of recommendations along those lines. And there are 3 books in this series. So I was like, if I like it, it's going to hold me for a little while. Little did I know how fast I would read them, my downfall. And maybe that's the problem, the root of the problem. Okay, I buffed it in so thoroughly that it's like barely there, but it is there. Way better. I'm going to go in with just a little bit more concealer. So the Scholomance series takes place at a wizard school, but don't roll your eyes. It is like an extremely gritty, dark, R-rated version of a wizard school and manages kind of brilliantly to avoid what one might think would be unavoidable parallels and comparisons with other famous book series about a wizard school. It is like completely and entirely its own world and its own beast, and much more science fiction, actually, and definitely not for kids. Incredibly refreshing, compelling. And the other thing is really, really character driven through the point of view of the main character, who is like a blazing, dark, and very well developed point of view character. And relatable in this kind of like angsty teenage way. But again, the portrait is painted in a way that doesn't feel like it's young adult fiction. Although I have no problem reading young adult fiction. Love it so much. It's interesting because it features young adults, but it has sort of like a tenor and then subject matter that feels a bit more expansive than that. And I have just eaten these books alive. The way that my friend Shori described it to me, and Shori was the one who made me read Gideon the Ninth, as you may remember. She really never lets us down over here. She was like, it's wizard kids going to school in a school that's trying to kill them, which once I got into the books is like a little bit of an oversimplification of what's going on, but kind of gives you a sense of the vibe, right? It's like a little bit fear, death, and destruction kind of all around. Delightful and totally off the rails imagination-wise. Like the world building is really creative, but it's sold in this, again, gritty, dark, and kind of direct way that makes you buy it hook, line, and sinker. And I have really bought in. So I'm in the middle of the 3rd book. I mean, what I need is like bedtime reading. So I need to have something to read for an hour when I'm falling asleep at night. And if I had just stuck to that with these books, they would have lasted me a lot longer. But I like them so much that I started reading throughout the day, taking a little break. When I take a little 5-minute break from work, I'll like read for 5 minutes. And in the evenings, like reading them while I'm cooking or like reading before dinner, reading in the bath, instead of filling those little gaps in my life with either contemplation, like not consuming media, or some other kind of media. And because I've been doing that, I've read like all of them in 4 days or something. It's a crying shame. I'll probably finish the 3rd book like tonight or tomorrow, and then I'm going to be really sad that the whole thing's over. But insofar as it's added spice to my life this week, it's definitely been cheering me up, and I totally recommend this series, especially if your tastes are anything adjacent to mine when it comes to light reading. Other book that really had me in its grip lately is slightly less light. It's a nonfiction book called Stolen Focus, and it was written by the journalist Johann Hari. I posted about it on Instagram, and I said, for me, it's the book of the year. That is how I feel. And I'll be surprised if anything this year unseats it, even though it's only March. I'm spot concealing right now, by the way, with the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, as I often do, and this Persona brush, which I think is supposed to be for eyeshadow. But I love a little double-ended brush like this for concealer. I like being able to use the tiny end to like lay down the product, and then the slightly bigger pencil brush to diffuse the edge for spot concealing. So in Stolen Focus, the writer investigates what he learns is like a statistically proven phenomenon of us as people on the planet and mass as a group becoming less and less able to focus and to think deeply over time. So our attention spans are getting shorter, and our ability to sustain focus on a single thing is definitely statistically shrinking. So the first thing he does is discuss why he began to suspect that this was the case based on his own experience and the experience of some of his friends and acquaintances. And then he goes looking for information about whether this phenomenon phenomenon is actually true. He's like, is it just how I feel? Am I just getting older? Or is this like a thing that's happening, like a trend? He finds out that it truly is. It's something that people study and that has been proven. And so then he goes on a long campaign all around the world interviewing behavioral scientists, people who work in tech, social scientists, people who have done various experiments to try to regain or change the quality of their focus. Then he wrote the book, right? And he also does some, what I really love, right? Experiments on himself. He takes like a 3-month solid break from the internet, lives in isolation, and talks about what that experience is like. And it's all woven. Well, first, what I'll say is the structure of the book is that he decides, after all of his journalistic research, that there are 12 culprits for our declining ability to focus. And then that's how the book is structured. So he goes through each one of the 12, unpacks it, and talks about all of the data. So that's fascinating in and of itself. And if it's something in which you're interested or if it's resonant, you might already be like wanting to read it. I think I definitely would just based on that. But the thing that really it has to recommend it on top of all of that is the writing style, the fluidity, the beauty of the writing, just the quality of the narrative, how easy it is to read, because as much as I love nonfiction, sometimes it's like the last thing that I want to pick up at the end of a long day. And this book, I just couldn't wait to get back into it every single time because everything is handled so elegantly, so beautifully. The pacing, the interweaving narrative, the characters, the people that he interviews, and the way that the data is presented, the way that it's sort of painted in these overlapping layers and it's structured really beautifully. I was just blown away, and I want everyone to read this book. I said this in my Instagram post. I'm like this close to buying one for all of my friends. I think that it's like a must read. And it's certainly making me think a lot and think in different ways about how I structure my life and the forces to which I'm subjected and the forces to which we're all subjected, and like what I would like for myself in terms of time and space and quality of thought and focus over the course of the rest of my life, how to achieve that for myself and how we as a society can set ourselves up to be able to achieve that better. It's really good. It really lit me up and is definitely an example of something that cheered me up. And then I finished reading it. I moved on to reading other things and it sort of slipped away. And so I'm really glad I'm talking about it again here because I'm getting back in touch with sort of the light that it cast and how exciting it felt. And that's what I've been missing over the past week or so, and I've been feeling like a pile of garbage. So that's complexion sorted, except I'm going to powder a tiny bit, mostly just over the spot conceal. And I'm using the Kosas powder. The lid has fallen off. And this brush, someone was asking me about it in the comments the other day. It's the Patrick Ta complexion brush. Remember when I reviewed that Patrick Ta balm foundation that had like a balm and a powder in one compact? This is the brush that was sold alongside that product. I bought it, even though I don't usually buy like the dedicated brush for something I'm using my channel budget to review. I bought it because what sold me on that product on reviewing it was this like mesmerizing Instagram reel that showed Patrick Ta applying the product to a model's face with this end, the balm, and then powdering with this end. And it was just that kind of marketing that sucks you in completely. And I was like, I need to do that. And I felt like I needed to review the entire experience, including the brush. And I got it, and I really didn't like the product. It didn't work for me in any way, but I really liked the brush and I'm still using it to this day. I use the cream end for cream blush and I use the other end for powder. Kosas has really let me down here though. So I have dyed my brows today and I haven't put anything else in them. I love this moment. This always cheers me up. I love putting like a brow wax or pomade into my freshly dyed brows. This is the Benefit Fluff Up Brow Wax, which I've been using exclusively layered underneath Gen C arch support. Today I'm just going to use this, I think, and see how it fares on its own because I don't need to darken my brows. And I've been wanting to try this anyway, just see how well it keeps them in place on its own. I don't think I want them to be fluffed up. Maybe in the front, I want them to be mostly like in this. Maybe I do kind of want them to be fluffed up. I mean, they're going to be mostly covered with my hair anyway. Nothing like a freshly dyed eyebrow. I'm still using that Godefroy tint kit that I've been using for years. I'll link it down below. What fun. And it feels like it's holding pretty well. Actually, the brow wax. It's interesting. Usually I just put one layer in and then actual sculpting and shaping goes on with arch support. But this time I was sort of going back with a second coat and sculpting and shaping, and I can feel it setting and I can feel that the hold is like pretty decent, at least for now. We'll see how it looks by the end of the video. So I recently filmed a video that I made simply because as I was falling asleep one night, I was like, I haven't worn red lipstick in a really long time. And in that video, I had almost no eye makeup, or It was like bare lids with maybe just a little bit of highlight, I think, a medium strong cheek, and a really strong red lip and mascara. I loved it. I loved wearing that look. I loved how it ended up looking in the video. Applying it really fired me up. And then I loved wearing that look for the whole rest of the day. And we even had company that evening and went out to dinner, and I had on that look the entire time, and I was just really feeling myself. So I want to do the same thing today, but with a different color of lipstick. I'm going to use 1990 by Merit and a brown lip liner. But because I know where I'm headed, I'm going to go eyes down. And I'm just going to leave my lids bare and use Lash Prototype to finish and tell you about some routines in my life that I know have been cheering me up. And it's hard. It's when you're feeling like a pile of garbage in spite of your best efforts. Well, maybe not my best efforts, right? Because it took until today for me to dye my brows, wash my hair, and put on my nails and my jewelry. But when you're making some effort and you're still feeling like a pile of garbage, sometimes it can be hard to remember how much bigger the pile would be if you weren't making the efforts that you're making. So I just want to give an honorary mention to like the things that I've been doing that I know have been keeping me up, even though I've been feeling down. And the main thing is that I mentioned this recently in a different video too, really working on cultivating a daily meditation practice, like a serious one, and really putting my nose to the grindstone at it kind of for the first time in my life. And it's because I'm in a class, an online group class designed to help cultivate like a real deep, long-lasting, lifelong meditation practice. The teacher of the class is my longtime friend and mentor, Julia Frodal. I've talked about her before a lot because she teaches in another extraordinary class about cultivating a compassion practice. Julia teaches the compassion class regularly. It's a 6-week course. I try to mention it from time to time just in case there's anyone out there who hasn't heard me mention it before and who might be interested because it's life-changingly extraordinary. I'll link her classes down below. They're not inexpensive, but she does offer scholarship help. And a lot of the classes are on a sliding scale as well. Wow, this mascara is really coming into its own as it's starting to dry out. That is an absolute banger of a mascara for a bare lid, all lash look. It's like stretching my lashes out. So the meditation class, Julia's meditation class is new. I'm in the first class, the first cohort, and it's a longer class, which totally makes sense now that we're in the middle of it. It's like she's sticking with us, like she's slowly helping us to unfold, like helping us to get there and not just like dumping all the information all at once and hoping that we stick with it. And I, for one, feel like I really do need that. And there's not pressure to like develop at a certain pace. And I think that the length of the course is helping everyone feel like they can go at their own pace and they're not just going to kind of get left behind or get dropped. So I think it's been a month and a half at this point, the class. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's been about a month and a half at this point, maybe close to 2 months. Since a bit of a rocky start at the beginning, I've been doing some kind of meditation almost every day. It started really short and I'm getting more comfortable with a longer practice at this point and trying to keep growing in that direction. But oh my gosh, it changes your brain. Like it literally fundamentally changes your brain and the way that you move through the world. I mean, there are all sorts of proven benefits of meditation, but one of the most extraordinary, I think, immediately recognizable ones for me is just so much more patience. I'm so much less likely to get irritated by having to wait for something or by somebody behaving in a small way that doesn't like align with what I had hoped or what I had expected. The little irritations I used to always feel at stuff like that, it's just like gone into the ether. And a great many other things have changed and improved in my life as well on sort of a shallow or superficial level and on a deep level. This is just to say that as much as I'm telling myself that I've been going around feeling like a pile of garbage, I know it's nothing compared to how I would be feeling if I were going through this week as someone who didn't have a meditation practice or hadn't been cultivating one, working on changing her brain in these fundamental ways over the past 2 months. So I'm just saying it to remind myself. And also, in case Julia teaches a class again, that's kind of where I was going. I really, really hope that this isn't just a one-off. I hope she'll put it into regular rotation just like she has done with the compassion class because it's the ticket. It's the real deal. I've really been sticking to my aspiration not to have screens in bed with me. Other than my Kindle, which I can turn on the really amber light and turn it down really low so I can read in the dark when I'm falling asleep, but it's not like a bright light shining. It's just like a very, very dull amber glow. I'm using this Chantecaille blush that I recently featured in my video, the update of my makeup collection. This is one of the few things that has joined my collection since the end of last year. And see what I mean about how subtle it is? I love. So the thing I've talked about in the past is that I know know that not taking my phone into the bedroom with me or my laptop, which I'm equally as likely to do. I am not as addicted to my phone as most people, but I am, I think, more addicted to my laptop than a lot of people. And I tend to like carry it around the house with me and interact with it the way that a lot of people do with their phones. So I have to watch that. And it's always been one of those habits that I know will improve my quality of life if I can just buckle down and be strict with myself, not bring the screens in to the bedroom with me. And I mean, it's an extension of the larger plan, which is to try not to look at screens within an hour or two of going to sleep. Incidentally, miserably low quality sleep and not enough sleep is one of the 12 culprits that Johann Hari has identified in Stolen Focus. Just putting that out there. And he talks in that book, or he cites studies and cites scientists talking about how crucially important it is to stop looking at screens like 2 hours before you get in bed. So I've actually gone as far as to try to stop like by 8:30 or 9 at night looking at screens at all. So even if my laptop's in my office, I'll close the lid and I won't go in and open it. And I'll leave my phone in there too. And I won't look at it on a good day. Like that's what I'm aspiring to. And I don't always manage. But I have totally locked down the habit of not bringing either of those devices into the bedroom with me. And it's been a roller coaster. Like I've talked to you all, I think in the past about how I'll stick with that habit for a while and then I'll start slipping up. I'll start bringing my phone in. I'll just be like, I just have to have it. I just need a little something, like today was too hard or sleep is too elusive or whatever, paradoxically, because it is the culprit for elusive sleep, and yet we're like, I can't sleep, I need it. So during the pandemic, for example, I fell into the late night scroll habit pretty badly. And I talked about how I had been on the wagon for a while and then I had fallen off. And I just knew that if I could let go of that habit, reinstate the healthier habit of not bringing the phone, that would sort of be the first building block in getting back to other healthy habits. Like I've talked about that before. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is that I'm just on like a magnificent streak of not bringing devices into bed with me. And I feel like I've been doing it for long enough at this point that it's become totally second nature. Like the idea of bringing the phone into the bedroom and having it on my bedside table right now, it's like, why would I do that? I have lost the desire because I've been practicing the habit of leaving it outside for so long, and I've been doing it with such regularity. Like it hasn't just been on and off. It's been like absolutely every day. And it's all of a piece. I think that daily meditation has calmed my brain a little bit and strengthened my resolve. It's made it easier for me to make good decisions around little things like that. So I hope it doesn't sound like I'm bragging or something. I'm not trying to brag. Again, I've been over here feeling sorry for myself, feeling like I couldn't put myself together, feeling like a mess. So when I sat down to make this list of things that have been cheering me up to share during this video, I was like, let me also list some things that have been helping, even though I'm not giving them the credit that they deserve. You know what I mean? I think for me, those are the two big ones. Okay, the last thing, we're going to do the lip. Can't wait. I'm going to put my mole back on actually with this brown. This is the Esam dual-ended lip pencil. So creamy, so long wearing, such pretty colors. So this one with the dark brown and the light brown is in the shade Nude. I use the dark brown to put my mole back on. I'm going to use a light brown to line my lips. And same thing as with the red lip. My lips are dry and very, I'm trying to talk and I'm messing it up. My lips are dry and textured, a little wrinkled. They're just really natural looking right now. They look like real lips, not like plump, shiny, glossy, perfect, slick slugs. And this is so much easier to handle than a red. I'm just softening the edges with my finger. And I also know that the lipstick I'm using isn't as super opaque and densely pigmented as the red that I used the other day, so I don't need to worry as much about the shape as I did. I might not even need to use a brush to soften it when I'm done. So the last thing on my list is a little bit of a low ball, because usually in what's cheering me up right now, I just talk about things like what I've talked about so far. Books, media, music, daily habits, food, recipes, you know what I mean? Things that aren't new makeup, new clothes, stuff I've bought, orders I've placed, because you all know my history with that. That's the trap that I was stuck in before my YouTube channel, before my no buy year, depending on a new shiny thing, the promise of a new shiny thing, the purchase of a new shiny thing, depending on that to like give me hope that things would be better next week. Like when that package arrived in the mail, that my life would change, that I would change. I've tried to change my thinking about joy, like my thinking thinking about being cheered up. I've tried to shift it away from focus on stuff and conceive of being cheered up as something that is caused by what you do, not what you buy. Reading books, changing habits, executing on plans that are habit related. Those are things that I know actually do cheer a person up and over time change a person's life. And so that's usually what I focus on because, as I've said many times before, stuff that you buy can't change your life. So if you're feeling like a pile of garbage, a thing, a beautiful thing, a little thing is only going to be like a temporary Band-Aid. So that is why when I mention a thing, when I sit down to make this list about what's cheering me up and a thing springs to mind and I'm like, oh yeah, I have been getting a real boost out of thinking about that or spending time with it or using it or whatever, I always save it to last and front load with the other juicier, better prospects. I'm going to throw this lipstick on. Just the color of the Esom liner is beautiful, but see how this has like that cool toned quality? It just like brings it down to a little bit of a dirtier, grittier place. Blotted, it's sort of like a mix of the two, and I like that it's a little bit lighter. Oh my gosh, the statement lip is back in my life. This is me now. I feel like this is going to be my strategy for the next month or two. For me, having nothing on my eyes except mascara makes it so much easier to pull off a stamped on lip, like a really strong lip like this. And I've been enjoying it a lot. Okay, I'll tell you what the thing is. It was my birthday recently, and that's part of why I feel like it's okay to be like, there's this one little thing I'm really excited about it, and it's actually not little. I mean, not to me. My wonderful friend Simbri, who I've talked about from time to time, she's also an influencer. She has an Instagram account that's really inspiring and beautiful. I'll link it down below, and I recommend following her. For my birthday, Simbri gave me a gift card to Estelle Colored Glass, which is this like really alluring, special, niche glassware company that just makes glassware in beautiful, unusual, chic colors and some really fun special colors like pale mint and pale yellow and pink. And it's the kind of thing that I've always thought, wow, in my dreams would I be able to have, for example, a set of Estelle Colored Glass stemware, like wine glasses. And when Simbri was here last, I think she might have observed that we don't really have a set of wine glasses. Like we have a little collection of dishes that we've slowly been putting together from East Fork that I feel like really reflect our personal style, like our homeware style, and that Joe and I really love. We have really pretty water glasses that I've chosen carefully. And so, when we're entertaining as we were when Simbri was here, there are some really lovely cohesive aspects to that. Like I made dinner and I was like serving dinner. And then when it comes to the wine glasses, it's like this motley mix of weird, heavy glasses that have come from random things like, I don't know, a free bottle of wine that came with like a cheap glass. They're all different shapes and they're all really old, and it's just not something we've ever selected with care and brought into the home thoughtfully and happily. And it's always something I thought, maybe in the future. So Simbri gave me a gift card for a set of Estelle Colored Glass wine glasses, like stemware, which meant I got to choose the color. And I spent an absolutely euphoric couple of days contemplating all of the different colors of Estelle Colored Glass stemware that I might get and how each color would look with our existing dishes. If I'm not too embarrassed about it, maybe I'll even show the collages on screen that I made so that I could completely envision exactly how every color that I was considering would look with the rest of our dishes. All of that decision making was a real joy, and I finally decided on amber smoke for our glasses, placed the order, and I think they're going to be here tomorrow. So because I'm right on the cusp of that, receiving this really special birthday gift from my sweet friend, and I think that the joy of contemplating the color was also part of the gift, and Simbri was fully aware of that. So it's sort of been an ongoing process, and it's been really fun also to send the collages to her and consult about the color. I just had to mention it again to remind myself, as much as to share with any of you, that there is joy in my life and that I'm not a pile of garbage, and my life certainly isn't. Because a pile of garbage and Estelle Colored Glass just are not compatible. So I really need to have it together by the time the box arrives tomorrow. And I feel like I will. I feel like I have it much more together now. This was like the last piece. Maybe I'll do an Estelle Colored Glass unboxing on Instagram. Maybe I'll film a reel. Stay tuned. I've also been kind of considering, because I've been feeling bad and I've known that I'm feeling bad, and so I've been like casting a line into the future, trying to be like, what's it going to take? Like, what is it going to look like when I start on the upswing, you know? I've been contemplating doing another week of fancy dressing, which is something I did a really long time ago on my channel, just to like pump myself up a little bit, dressing for work every single day as if I worked in a slightly more formal environment, basically more formal than just my house with Joe. And I was thinking I would do that on Instagram because I haven't been feeling great lately. I haven't been posting my outfit of the day very often because sometimes it just has been like pajamas. But I was thinking I might try to kickstart that again and do it with a week of glamorous dressing up. So go and follow me on Instagram. Harangue me if you don't see the Estelle Colored Glass unboxing, and then harangue me again if you don't see some schmancy outfits in the outfit of the day in my stories, like in the coming week. All right? I'm depending on you, and I'm also serving myself that challenge because at this moment, I feel like I'm capable of meeting it. 10s across the board for the makeup. The mascara, this is like the best it's ever been, a couple months into its life. The blush, so glad that I decided to keep it at the end of the year. The lip, why did I ever stop wearing Merit 1990 on at least a weekly basis, which is what I was doing for like a year? Why did I ever stop? I feel like there's not a scrap of garbage in sight. It is time for yet another episode of What's Cheering Me Up Right Now, the iconic internet television show in which I tell you what has been keeping me afloat. If this happens to be your first time watching my channel, or maybe your second time, maybe you're just starting to poke around, but you haven't subscribed yet, then welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. My name is Hannah. I make videos about fashion and beauty. I try to make sure that my content stays grounded in reality instead of floating off into a universe of constant shopping and spending. I think that you can have a true appreciation for beauty and style without overspending. So a lot of my content is about, or at least adjacent to, the challenge of keeping that balance. I hope you'll subscribe if you're just starting to poke around and you find that you're kind of liking it here. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I mentioned that I have a trip coming up and that I'm planning to wear it for the entire trip. That's the next thing on my list. And it's really soon. I'm leaving tomorrow. Filming this video is like my last act before I depart on this trip. Well, actually, packing will be my last act. I haven't actually done it yet, but I have planned all my outfits, as I want to do when I'm going on a trip. Especially this one, because what it is an influencer trip. It's not exactly a brand trip. I mean, it's not a brand trip in like the traditional historical sense. Like Benefit brings a bunch of influencers to the middle of the desert and hands them all samples of their new mascara, or Tarte takes everyone to the Bahamas or something. Like, it's not that. And it's not that because it hasn't been organized by a brand to promote a product, which is what traditional brand trips have been. This is, I think, unique. I think it's like the first of its kind or one of a kind. It is a trip that's organized by influencers for influencers, just for us to get together and be together in one place and like get to know each other and have community in person instead of just online. Ironically, because it's social media, working as an influencer is a really solitary and kind of lonely job. And even though we're connected to each other, like I'm connected to my peers, other people who do work similar to mine, those connections are almost all digital most of the time. You know what I mean? Like they're mostly online. And there's so much that can't happen in terms of building friendships, building community, and also building like a solid network that's work-related, the kind of network that helps you more fully understand the nature of your own job, gives you information about how other people are doing in the same work that you do, that helps you make better choices. The doors are closed to a lot of that for a lot of people working in social media, especially more like micro-influencers. And it can often feel like we're just flying blind. You know what I mean? It's like 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, flying blind and like alone. Anyway, I've really gotten up into my soapbox, but the trip is to Charleston, South Carolina. It's like to a group house with a bunch of other influencers. It's been organized by my brilliant, wonderful, enterprising friends, Simbri and Samantha. Simbri has an Instagram account, which is absolutely stunning. I will link that, of course. Samantha March. She's all over all the socials, and I'll link her down below too. And their idea was like, why should we wait for a brand to invite us on a trip and and then be sort of like on that trip totally under the umbrella of that brand, like they're at their mercy or like at their behest. Why should we wait for a thing like that in order for us to gather in person with each other? Why not just create it ourselves? Which I think is just so brilliant, because now that this is my job, I think a lot about the influencer economy and what it means for this to be one's workplace. And one of the things that I think a lot about and that I talk over a lot with Joe is like, where is the power? Like, who is driving the boat in any one situation? Like in any situation that I find myself in this work. So when I make YouTube videos and I post them and like that's the job that I'm doing, who has the power there? Like who is controlling the system kind of? And who's navigating the system? Who's benefiting from the system the most? What's the product? Like what's being bought and sold? What's being exchanged? What are the different kinds of currency that are flying back and forth? Like we just think about this stuff all the time. And a deep dive into that is definitely a topic for another day. But what I love about this trip, this event that's about to happen is that it's Simbri and Samantha just taking the power. They're like, let's do what we're great at. Let's organize, let's connect, let's rally, like let's build this event out of nothing. We have the power. We don't have to wait around and be hired by someone to do it. We can like hire people. And that's what they've done. They've invited a bunch of different brands to sponsor little bits of the trip, like to sponsor a meal, to sponsor, I think there's going to be like a master class, like a makeup master class. And in that way, they've pieced it together, but with themselves as the directors and with it basically being an event that's like for us, by us, rather than a situation in which we're used, which I think is a common situation that an influencer finds herself or himself or themselves in. And sometimes it can be hard to navigate this world in a way that avoids that situation. So they've just done such a beautiful, thoughtful, joyful job of launching this project, and it's the first one, and I'm hoping there will be more. I mean, I'm just so excited about it, as you can tell. By the time this video posts, I think I'll just be returning, and if you're curious about how it's gone, you should check my Instagram, because I think that I'll be posting on Instagram a little more than I usually do while I'm on the trip. I am so excited to meet some of my fellow influencers. I'm like gonna cry. I'm gonna get to meet Tina, the fancy face, Amanda Z, like all these wonderful people who I know, but I don't know. And I'm going to get to see Lauren again. I haven't seen her in forever. It's just glorious. And it couldn't have come at a better time. And, Joe and I we're not really good at taking time off, taking vacations. And it's not totally a vacation because it's a work trip for me, but it does, promise to be festive. I think that it's going to be extremely festive. And I feel really, really lucky to be involved. Maybe I'll do like a get ready with me, how was the Charleston trip video? Something like a casual chit chat, get ready with me. It's so old school. Let me know if there's an interest in that. Maybe there's not. Or maybe it's something that would make more sense just to do on Patreon. You let me know in the comments. But I had to share it because it is, especially because I'm just right on the cusp. Like I'm going to film this and then I'm going to pack basically. Because I'm right on the cusp of that, it is absolutely the primary thing cheering me up right now. Okay, let us talk about books. I have been reading up a storm, and I think that it's because I read Stolen Focus and I did this meditation class, Julia's meditation class, which, by the way, I think she's made it available as a class that you can take without being in the group class online. Like when I took it, we met every other Sunday as a class online, and there were like live lessons, but then there were also lessons that were pre-recorded that we would listen to throughout the week, and that's where like the concepts would be in the homework and all of that stuff. And then usually the in-person stuff would be like question and answer, like people troubleshooting, Julia helping us troubleshoot our developing meditation practices. I think that she's made it available so that you can take the course yourself, like a self-guided version of it where you just have the recorded lessons. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I read that. And if so, that's so exciting, and I'll link it down below. But if you decide to do it, I recommend doing it with a friend so that you have a buddy, like an accountability buddy, as you launch into that world of that practice. But you could like just both take it each on your own and then be accountable to each other. Anyway, I read Stolen Focus, which I talked about one of the other What's Cheering Me Up Right Now videos. I'll link it below. I took the meditation class. A lot of crossover in the messaging there. And it's just made me want to spend less time distracting myself with the more distractible types of media, like apps, my phone in general, even my computer screen. I feel like the concepts in the book made me really want to change my habits. And then meditation and the way that it empowers a person and the way that it's sort of settled and restructured my brain gave me the grit to change my habits. And I've just been spending a lot more time reading. And I've had a lot more time for reading than I had when I was spending a lot of my time scrolling. So I have just busted through books, and I've been desperate for long books because the short books, I was like reading them too quickly, or long series. So after the last What's Cheering Me Up Right Now, where I talked about, it might have been the last one or the one before, I talked about the Scholomance books from Naomi Novik. A lot of you were like, you have to read Spinning Silver, which is like a one-off book. And I did read that, and it was lovely, just like everything she's written. And it was absolutely lovely. I also went on to read the Temeraire series, which is like, it's the Napoleonic Wars if there was an Air Force during the Napoleonic Wars. But the Air Force is dragons. So like alternate history plus dragons. And the books are on the shorter side, but there are like 9 of them or something. So I just read the whole series as if it were one long novel, and that was absolutely delightful. After I had exhausted the Novik canon, I moved on to rereading all of the Jasper Fforde novels, the Thursday Next novels. How can I even just briefly explain what they are like? I don't know if I can. They're set in the 1980s, except for that there's some time travel. They're absurdist, and it is also like alternate sci-fi history. So it's like set in an alternative version of England in the 1980s, a version where there are things like cloning, again, a little bit of time travel, but most importantly, it's a version of our world in which everybody is completely and utterly manically obsessed with literature. Like there's always a line out the door at the museum that has the original manuscript of Jane Eyre in it. And people are as excited to line up and go see that as they are to see a blockbuster film or to see like a rock star in concert in our actual current world. And that is part of what makes it so delightful. But also it's just very clever, silly, but poignant, well-written in its own way, excellent characterization. I mean, the books are like a wild romp. And I had read them already a long time ago. I mean, it must have been 15, 20 years ago. Gosh, I'm getting up there. And it was one of those things where I was scouring my brain. I was like, what can I read that will hold my attention, but not be too dark, and be compelling, but not addictively so in that sort of page turner way where it keeps you up at night? Because I need to be reading books that will delight and engage me until I drift off to sleep, but not keep me from drifting off to sleep. And when I remembered this series, and then I realized it had been so long that I basically forgot everything, all the details, I was like, perfect. And I had a wonderful couple of weeks just reading my way through the Thursday Next novels. So after that, I moved on to, at Simbri's insistence, the prequel to The Priory of the Orange Tree, which I had at Simbri's recommendation read some months ago, and I don't think that I've ever mentioned it. So The Priory of the Orange Tree is like a massive fantasy epic, the likes of which I actually haven't read in a long time. The writer's name is Samantha Shannon, and I think she had written several books that had done pretty well, and then this one really popped off. It was like New York Times bestseller and all of this. It's true fantasy. Like it's a real fantasy world, intense world building, like continents, like different continents. And each one has its own character, and there are all of these cities and towns and characters. And I mean, each continent has its own character, as in its own culture. And then on each one, there are different cities and towns. And then there are all of these characters who populate the continents with character. And they are all sort of like dealing with the same global issues, and they sort of come together and apart. And it's historical as well. Like it's a fantasy world, but it's not modern. It feels sort of like medieval. There are a couple of things that make them very compelling that I feel like make them maybe extra worth recommending. Priory of the Orange Tree, and then the freestanding prequel that I just read, which is called A Day of Fallen Night. One is just that the storytelling is really immersive, and the plot, and you just get really sucked in. Exactly what I needed, you know what I mean? Just to get completely sucked in. And they're really long, they're like 600 pages. But the other thing that's amazing about them is that in this medieval world, gender fluidity and relationships between same-gender couples are totally normalized. There are things about the societies that she's describing, like the infrastructure of the societies, that feel very historical. But then there's this element of the structure of each one of these societies that is not something that we read about when we read about actual medieval times, which is that anyone, even like a noble lord or lady or a king or a queen, like anyone might just as easily be partnered with somebody who's their same same gender as partnered with somebody who isn't their same gender. And there are a lot of characters populating these worlds who are non-binary and have non-binary pronouns and ways of being addressed in the societal system. So it's just lovely. You know what I mean? It's lovely to have one's way of seeing fortified by world building that includes that aspect. It might have been my favorite thing about reading those books. The thing to know, though, is that the language is very flowery, and I had to just eat it. I just had to live with it. It's fine. I got used to it after a while, but if you're gonna go read them, just be aware that it's the forest was bestranged by the night. The sunrise was a goblet of molten gold. Those are literal quotes. It's just very florid metaphors that kind of verge a little bit on cheesy sometimes. I mean, I do think I don't read much bona fide pure fantasy, except for I've read all of the classics like Lord of the Rings and stuff, but contemporary fantasy epics, I'm just not really up on it. I wonder if this is something that's much more common in that genre than in the genres that I tend to read. Because part of what she was doing, I think, was almost creating her own language. The language itself felt historical kind of, but also unique and fantastical and really specific to the world she was building. And that might be why I eventually sort of just slid into it and it sort of stopped bothering me. Because I think that it was done with intention. I think it's part of the project. But when I first started reading The Priory of the Orange Tree, I was like, whoa, she's just letting it all be gooey center, all just dripping in honey. And it's just how it is, and it's fine. So that's my one caveat. But if you need a great vacation book and you want to bite off a big bite, Priory of the Orange Tree might be the one for you. So then after I finished Day of Fall Night, I was like, what am I gonna do? And I remembered a bolt from the blue. I don't even know how this happened. I remembered that I've been wanting to reread The Once and Future King, which is T.H. White's innovative retelling of the King Arthur legends that was written, I think, starting in the 30s, maybe late 30s. It's several books grouped together, and he wrote them over the span of several years. The first book in the group, and if you go to read it, it'll be one book. I'm reading it on my Kindle and I went to download it and it was just one book, but it's one book that's broken up into books. And I think that he originally wrote the books separately and published them separately. And then they all sort of got glued together and they now tend to live under the title of The Once and Future King. The first book is The Sword and the Stone, which was much later turned into a Disney movie, a really great early Disney movie that weirdly is one of the ones that I watched a lot as a kid. And I had sort of a spotty, a patchy relationship with film and television as a kid because we didn't have a TV, but sometimes we would be in spaces where there would be a TV, and then we'd end up watching the same VHS tape over and over again. And somehow I was caught in a loop somewhere. I can't even remember the details, but I ended up watching The Sword and the Stone over and over again at some point as a kid. Or maybe we just rented it a lot from a video store and we had borrowed one of those televisions that only had the VHS, didn't connect to the aerial, but did have a VHS slot built into it. So we would watch movies, but we couldn't watch TV. It's a bit fuzzy. All I know is that The Sword and the Stone, the Disney Sword and the Stone, is burned into my brain. And I read The Once and Future King again, maybe 20 years ago. And I remember just loving it. It's also really long. It's 650 pages long. So it'll hold me for a while. But again, I didn't remember any of the details. I didn't even remember that The Sword and the Stone was part of it. I didn't remember that T.H. White had written The Sword and the Stone. I literally remembered nothing except that it's King Arthur and that I loved it. So I just started that. And maybe it won't live up to my memories, but I thought that as long as I was delivering the saga of all the books that I've read over the past few months, I might as well let you know what I'm on to next. And as you may be able to tell from how it is for me to talk about it, I've just been loving reading. I mean, who doesn't? But it's something that I have done more frequently and then less frequently and then more frequently and then less frequently as an adult person. And it's interesting. It's making me think about the fact that during my no-buy year, when I stopped shopping for a year in 2018, I started going to the library more regularly because I had more time. You know what I mean? I had all this time. And so I was reading a lot more. During my no-buy year, I started reading a lot more novels, the kind of thing that I'm reading now. And it really sort of brought me back to myself. It delighted me in the same way then as it's delighting me now. And I love finding out yet again that when when I trim away some of the more unhealthy habits of the mind and the way that I spend my time, when I start to shrink the number of hours that I'm spending scrolling on Instagram, shrink the number of hours that I'm spending staring at screens, there's this other thing that sort of expands to fill that space, which is reading. And it gives me so much that those other activities don't. So it's really that, like the overall shape of things, that has been cheering me up more than any of the individual books. Okay, and let's briefly mention music, because usually in What's Cheering Me Up Right Now, I like tell you what music I'm listening to. And usually it's because I've either built a new playlist or found a new musical artist that I've been like chain listening to. That's not quite the situation right now, but I do have something to share music-wise. We have a record player and a modest collection of records, and some of them have more presence in our lives than others. Like we have some records that are just our classics and that we're always putting on and playing. We'll play them like in the morning when we're getting up and having breakfast and stuff. And then in the evening while we're preparing dinner, or like sometimes there's a little hour of just resting and reading in the living room before dinner starts, before cooking starts. We'll often have a record on at that time. And lately, some of the ones that we haven't played as much or that I'm not as familiar with have sort of been coming out of the woodwork. And one of them is classical music. It's the Chopin Preludes, 24 Preludes, which I don't know classical music. I mean, I know some, like probably recognize Beethoven versus Mozart or something, but I don't know I don't know very much about the landscape of classical music. But this record, which one of us bought at some point in a record shop years ago, and it's just been sort of stuck in amongst our records. It's a guy named Brylowski playing the 24 Preludes. And I just started playing it a couple of weeks ago, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. It's 24 little short songs on piano, all played together in a row. And half of them are on one side of the record and half of them on the other. And the first side is very like classical music, like having my coffee and croissant and living my best life, you know. And then the second side, it just starts to get a little, in the second half, we get into like the second half of the preludes, it just starts to get a little bit dramatic and very like teasing. Like you feel like something's coming in a song. It's like something's coming and you feel like a phrase of music that you kind of feel like is coming, but then it'll take a little bit too long and then it'll arrive. Like it starts to get very dynamic. And the more I've listened to it, the more I've gotten to know it, the more I've gotten into it. And it must be that you can just like go on Spotify and listen to the preludes, maybe even the Brylowski version. If I can find it, I'll link it down below if I can find it like for free on the internet. But you know, if you're like me and sometimes classical music is the thing, but you don't really know that much, like you don't know enough about it to be able to make a selection beyond just like some sort of classical Spotify playlist, this is kind of a good thing to know about because it's like the length of an album and it's this one piece, this one kind of cohesive piece that is delightful in every way. So my developing relationship with these 24 preludes has been cheering me up. And lastly, you knew I was going to mention it. I'm filming this the day after the channel has passed 100,000 subscribers. I do not even know what to say. I didn't plan this part. I didn't really plan any of this video. I just listed the things I wanted to talk about, but now I'm realizing I should have gotten myself together a little bit. I mean, I don't want it to be like I'm receiving an Oscar or something, but the main thing to say is like, thank you so much for being subscribed. If you're here and you're watching, I mean, not just being subscribed, but like watching. At the end of my No Buy year, when I had done the whole project and I had gotten like some handful of thousands of subscribers. I can't remember how much it was right at the end of that year. But in my last video of my first year on YouTube, I talked about the fact that I, in addition to everything else, the whole No Buy project and stuff, I was just shaken. Like my world had been shaken by the fact that any number of people wanted to come and hang out with me and listen to me and hear what I had to say and consume my content. I mean, I think I wasn't thinking of it in those terms at that time. And now it's 5.5 years since I started the channel and it's become a little bit more a part of my life. That truth, the fact that there's an audience and that I can keep making this content because people will keep watching it and it works and it's part of my work in the world. You know what I mean? It's like a significant chunk of the work in the world, my work in the world that I'm doing over the course of my lifetime. Now that I've been living with that reality for longer, it's not as fresh. You know what I mean? Like it's not as freshly shocking as it was that first year, but it still moves me. I'm to cry, of course. It still moves me. And I'll say a version of what I said then, which is that, especially as a woman who has a lot to say, and especially as a girl, like as a young woman and as a girl, I was just so much in social situations, like a content creator. Like it's part of the nature of a content creator to be bursting with content. And so when you are with a person like that in person, they take up space. You know, it's like a creative person. Not every creative person is like this, and I shouldn't generalize, but my experience of girlhood and young womanhood was that I felt so big and loud all the time. I just felt like content was coming out of me all the time in conversation, in classrooms, in public, and it wasn't always well received. It wasn't cute. You know what I mean? It is, at least at that time. I mean, hopefully by now things have changed, but it has been over the course of my lifetime, part of the fabric of our society that kind of bigness and muchness and too muchness isn't a good look for a girl. And I internalized a lot of that messaging as a girl and as a young woman. It made me feel unappealing, and it made me feel like the thing that made me unappealing was that I had so much to say and that I had this particular kind of energy with which to say it. So to now be in this work where it is that exact quality, it is that exact quality that is the foundation of the work that I do with my husband running this channel, and that it's so delightful and that it's suddenly, especially over the past couple of years since Joe started helping me and doing so much behind the scenes, you know, and just making my part of the work less fettered by little tasks. It has become a viable life. You know, it's become work, real work. To have that be the case, it just feels like this combination of like blessing and retribution that does still surprise me. Even after all of these years, even at 100K, like it does still surprise the little girl in me who feels unpopular. Unpopular and doesn't know how to fit herself into the mold that will make her someone who other people want to spend time with. Okay, enough of the childhood trauma stuff. I did not expect to go there. Thank you for being subscribed and watching my videos. I also just have to mention Joe. Like I kind of indicated it. He recently made a little chart showing growth over the years of the channel. If he lets me, I'll put it up on the screen. It is fascinating. The thing that's really interesting is that you can see the channel sort of struggling. Like I had the first year got established, and then for the next 2 or 3 years, just almost plateau. And then you see the channel start to grow, like to really pick up and flourish in the way that it has been over the past 2 years. And that point, that fulcrum point, that's the point at which Joe came on board as my partner in this work. So I know you don't see what he does, you know, he's behind the scenes and I'm in front of the scenes, but it's been everything. Like he convinced me to switch to a better editing program. He convinced me to invest in upgrades the equipment. And he also did all of the research about the equipment to get the good equipment, the lighting, figured out how to set it up. He keeps me on task, keeps the schedule, kind of looked at the data and was like, this is the regularity that will work and here's how we can organize it. Then lately, since he finished his podcast, he's taken over more and more of the editing labor, which has just made an enormous difference to me in terms of my freedom, my ability to create more complex videos. Not to mention that the channel is a business, and running a business takes an enormous amount of work behind the scenes, like banking and applying for stuff and taxes and just horrible stuff that I could do it if I had to, but it would drain me like a vampire. And Joe is so graceful and patient and hardworking in handling all of that. Again, making it so that I can be better at the part that I do. So what you've seen happen to the channel over the past couple of years, I mean, part of it is just natural evolution. The more you do something, the more you learn about it and the better you get at it. But it's also because I'm doing this in partnership with someone else. For the first 3 years, I was doing it alone, and I'm not doing it alone anymore. I'm grateful every day. I'm really excited that some of those more considered and scripted videos, like the basically short video essays about fashion, have been doing well because I really enjoy that kind of thing. And I'm not planning to turn the channel into a channel where that's all that I do, but not only to finally have the time and elbow room to experiment with creating that kind of content, but then also to see that there's an audience for that kind of content has really cheered me up lately. Creating all of the imagery and sourcing the photos and just like making something that's a little bit more of like a video painting essay say image thing. It's a lot more work than just like a straight up talking video, but I love it so much. And because it isn't what I've always done, it's a little bit new for me. It feels extra exciting. And I just can't wait to do more of that. It's finally time for another episode of What's Cheering Me Up Right Now. I'm so excited to be filming this one because I feel like I came back from maternity leave and immediately jumped into a bunch of like kind of high voltage videos. There was a new makeup hot take, there was that fashion video, the gift guide, and all three of those were sponsored and they were all kind of grouped together in November because the brands wanted them to go up close to Black Friday. So that was like intense work for me, intense videos, and I'm really excited to be getting back to work, and it was fun to do those projects, especially the fashion video. That was a really fun one for me. But they took priority because they were planned and they were contracted. And so I haven't really had a moment to sit back and just be with you filming. Anyway, I mean, I guess I had that one unboxing video, but I'm so excited now that all of that is past to be able to make some kind of more just like chatty content. What's cheering me up right now is perfect because it's like checking in about the inner life, checking in about the day to day. And I also have some lower stakes, lower concepts, just, trying new makeup type videos coming up soon. And it feels like a real pleasure. Speaking of what's cheering me up, it feels like a real joy to be able to get back to this kind of content after maternity leave and then after the frenzy of all of the early and mid-November content. So I'm raring to go. If this is your first time to my channel for some reason, then welcome, a hearty welcome to you. My name is Hannah. I make fashion, beauty, and lifestyle content on YouTube. Love talking about aesthetics, quality over quantity, joy over consumerism. If you like it, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's get right into the meat of the video. First up, I am finally able to share the news that my book, the book that I've been working on for my whole life, I mean, it's my first book and it's my truest love as a writer, my truest calling, which is poetry. So it's my first book of poetry and my first book is going to be published in March of next year. And it's available for pre-order now until December 10th. So I should probably have already posted a release, like an announcement video about that right when it became available for pre-order. I will link that in the cards and link it down below in case you haven't seen it, because all the information will be in that video. But I had to start this video with that because it is the dream come true. I mean, it's like the true dream that I've had ever since I even knew what poetry was as a child. I knew that it was for me, that it was my calling, and I still can't believe, even though I've known for months now, I feel like I still can't believe that it's actually, that dream has come true. So I know a lot of you also know that that's been a big part of my life and have been wondering if this would ever happen, just like I had come to the point of wondering if this would ever happen, and really almost pretty much made peace with the fact that it might never happen. And that's right when it happened. So if you're interested in owning my book, then now's the time to order, because the pre-orders, even though it's really quite far in advance of when the book will actually be published in March, it's very important that they get a sense of how many people are going to buy it so that they don't underprint and like sell out immediately in March. So if you'd like to buy my book, now's the moment, no pressure. And as I said in the announcement video, another option is to go to your local library and tell them that it's something that you would like them to have in the library for you to check out and read. And actually, even if you buy the book, it would be so extraordinary and such a gift to me if you would do that additionally. If you would do that anyway. It will mean so much to me to have this book, not just in people's hands and homes, but in the libraries as well. It's so stunningly incredible. I think usually when I talk about something that's cheering me up, it's like easy to I don't know how to explain this. It's usually easy to access the feeling. I'm like, oh, I'm next on my list is like bedding, my bedding. Cheering me up. It's like I feel the joy and it's very clear and available. The thing with the book, it's the very definition of surreal. It is surreal that it's happening to me. It's surreal that I'm getting to tell you about it. It's surreal that you are going to be able to read my book that I've been working on behind the scenes all of these years. I mean, you have no idea. It's like I film, I edit, I respond to you in comments, I work on my book, I think about the poems, I sculpt the poems, I test makeup, I come back, I film, I edit, I talk to you in the comments, I go back, I work on these poems, I work on this book, I sculpt the book. Like that's been my life. The whole time that I've been on YouTube, this has been in my life. So I've been doing this, and then I've been with you, and now it's like the opportunity to share that. The gift of that opportunity is here. It's so mind-bogglingly far beyond anything else that has ever been cheering me up that it almost feels like it doesn't make sense to have it in this video. But of course I have to. Like, of course it makes sense. It's the ultimate thing that has ever cheered me up. So that's it. There you go. Consider buying my book. Maybe buy two. One for you and one for a friend. Okay, let's move on to normal everyday things that actually make sense to my brain. I cannot wrap my mind around it. I will pin a comment, actually, because there are some details about ordering that will be in that other video, but if you choose not to watch it and you just want to order the book, you should read the pinned comment because it's a little bit funny. It's a small press. I mean, it's poetry publishing, you know, it's not like makeup sales, for example. It's this little niche world. And so there are a couple of quirks about this press and this prize in particular. So check the description box, look through the links. Let's move on. Next on the list, making the bed. I'm not the first person. I'm not the genius who came up with this. I think that there's like a book about how making the bed every day changes your life. People are always talking about it. Moms around the world are telling their children to just make their beds and see how it changes their life. But lately for me, it's really been hitting home. I bet making the bed has been in a past what's cheering me up right now because I go through phases. In life, I've gone through phases during which I make the bed and then I'll fall off the wagon and then I'll get back on the horse. I'll get my sea legs and get back on the wagon that's pulled by the horse and get the reins back in my hands on a boat. I'm really on the bed making horse right now, and it has been the lifeline, like the daily living, calm the nervous system lifeline during the chaos of these first few months of parenthood. It's been hard to keep, I don't know how to say it. It's not things organized, because it's not like things are always organized. Clean, tidy. It's not like things are always clean or tidy in our house. But there is a level of chaos of objects past which, when we go there, it starts to interfere, I feel, a little bit with my just general regulation. Like, I just feel, it makes me feel a little bit chaotic, you know? And I'm not an extreme minimalist. This is the philosophy, I think, of minimalist homeware as an organization and stuff like that. Anti-clutter and stuff. I'm not an extremist in that way, but having a little less clutter and then having it so it's not super chaotic does make a difference to my nervous system in general. And so it's something I try to keep a lid on much of the time, and it's been a little harder to keep a lid on it lately. And what I've realized is that the biggest, hardest hitting blow to that chaos that I can deal in the shortest amount of time is to make the bed. I'm not sure about all the parts of speech there, but the making of the bed, that's what I should have said. The biggest and hardest hitting blow that I can deal to that chaos is the making of the bed every day, pretty much right away. And it's circumstantial a little bit because I've been spending a lot of time on and in the bed. First I was recovering, and I will often be on the bed, like feeding my child. And so there's just been a little bit more of a bed heavy time in life. But I've also been appreciating, as a function of focusing on trying to make the bed every single day as soon as possible in the day and not be like sitting around in an unmade bed ever. It's also caused me to appreciate our bedding, our really carefully chosen, very special bedding. It's just been heavily featured lately for me, and I'm so glad that it's so good. And I've talked about it in the past. Our main bedding is parachute linen bedding, and we picked it very carefully. It's very expensive, and so we picked it out and waited and bought it on sale. Both colors, I don't even know if the colors we have are still available because I think they were like limited colors, and then they got discounted dramatically as they were being discontinued, and that was when we snatched them up. So one of them is ochre, which is that mustardy brownie mustard. It's more of a yellow. It's like a ochre. Ochre is the perfect name. The color is ochre. I don't know why I'm trying to explain it. And then the other color is called raisin, and it's also just exactly the color of a raisin. It's like a brown that maybe has a little bit of burgundy mixed into it. I am just so glad. I am so grateful to our past selves, Joe's past self and my past self, for making the executive decision to invest in bedding like this and for getting these two sets that we can trade off between. We just have the fitted sheet, the duvet cover, and pillowcases in each color. And sometimes we'll mix mix in our print fresh sheets or our crisp white sheets. Usually it's just raisin and then ochre and then raisin and then ochre again. Making the bed in those rich colors and having it all just smooth and clear at the beginning of the day. And with just the duvet, all you have to do is just shake out the duvet and put the pillows and it's fine. It takes like 2 seconds. Quality of life has been so improved lately by having those sheet sets, having that bedding, and by making the bed every day. The other thing we have on the bed is the Blush Bagheera quilt from Print Fresh. And it's like a pink version of the Bagheera bedding. The Bagheera print has that yellow leopard on it. So the yellow leopard goes really well with the ochre sheets, and then the pink tones go really well with the raisin sheets. So this magically, the Bagheera Print Fresh pink quilt goes perfectly with both colors of our sheets. So I've been making the bed just by spreading out the duvet and then folding the Print Fresh quilt in thirds and lying it across the foot of the bed every day. That's been like the made bed. It makes me feel good every time. It's the very definition of what's cheering me up. So I had to mention the sheets and the quilt themselves because it's particularly the specialness of those that has been giving me those warm feelings lately. But you don't have to go out buying expensive sheets in order for making your bed every day to cheer you up too. I just endorse it. I hope that I never go back. I hope I never fall off the wagon onto the deck of the boat behind the horse and lose the reins and then fall into the ocean. I hope that never happens. Okay, next. Arguably, this is also something that's slightly circumstantial given the nature of the past few months for me. But I also think that you could make an argument that this is like a going into winter thing. And it's not about the robes, because that's what this one is. Having a large collection of robes has been cheering me up. Every single one of my robes has been cheering me up. And together they have cheered me up immeasurably. I've been wearing a lot of robes because I was on leave. My body was recovering for several weeks. There were a lot of sort of half-dressed days, not really getting dressed days. So I've just really, truly been living in my robes more than I usually even do. In that way, this is kind of circumstantial. But the reason the robes made it into this video is not that. The reason is this. I used to be ashamed of my large robe collection. I can't remember what the context was, but I know that I talked about this on YouTube at some point. Oh, no, I remember. It was how to make your wardrobe match your lifestyle. How could I have forgotten? That video, how to make your wardrobe match your lifestyle, in which I talked about kind of adding up the hours of the day that you spend wearing any one type of clothing and then using that to figure out what you should and shouldn't be buying and owning in terms of clothing. When I put myself through my own exercise of matching my wardrobe to my lifestyle, I learned that I spend a lot more time than I thought I did in loungewear and in things like robes. And it made me realize that I could let go of my shame for not just owning a lot of robes already, but also being willing once in a while to buy another one. Like, I just sort of cannot be stopped. I mean, is it excessive? Joe did my laundry while I was recovering in bed, and he came back from doing my laundry and he was like, "You have too many robes." And then he took one. He promptly took one for himself. He was like, "I've learned something from doing your laundry. You have too many robes, and I'm taking this one." Luckily, it was the Print Fresh black Bagheera robe, and he looks really good in it. He can have it. But even in that moment, I didn't feel ashamed because I just use and wear them so much. So the larger lesson here is to, for me, not be ashamed of things if they work for me and make sense for me. I think other people, I mean, he wasn't joking, but he also wasn't shaming me. Maybe he was just trying to get a robe. I think he was just surprised. And a lot of people would be surprised. If I put all my robes together in one place and showed them to people, a lot of people would be like, who needs that many robes? Like, who needs that many robes is bananas. And the answer is, I don't need that many robes, but the answer is Hannah Louise Poston. Who would wear that many robes? Like, who would have a robe wardrobe like that and have it make sense for them and have it not be excessive? Kind of me. I've kind of become a minimalist in some ways, but I feel like there's this balancing aspect to that that's really important, which is to be okay with a little bit of indulgence in an area that really makes sense for you, where there's good use value being gotten out of the things. And lately I've just been so vindicated by my shift in perspective about my robe collection away from shame and towards embracing that I love wearing robes. I live in robes. I feel my best in a robe. I find a robe kind of glamorous. To be perfectly honest, I kind of feel my most glamorous in a robe, and it's just, I'm living my best life in robes, and it's all really come home to me lately, and I'm just so happy that I've let go of that voice in my head that's been there, I don't know, since childhood, maybe because of the overspending that I used to do and how I've had to work on myself to recover from that. Maybe it's from that, but there's this voice in my head that whenever I have multiple samples of something, or if I buy something just out of pure love and indulgence and because I know I use that type of thing a lot, but technically I didn't necessarily exactly desperately need it. You know, when I start entering into that little fuzzy area, there's this voice that's like, shame, shame on you. And I'm glad that I've managed to quell that voice a little bit to make a little space for myself to just live. And, you know, it's important for me to keep a lid on it in certain areas and to not overspend and to not overbuy everything. But I'm just glad that I have all of the robes that I have, even though it's kind of a lot. And I feel like the robes themselves have been cheering me up. And also the conspicuous absence of that old shame has been cheering me up. Okay, now we're getting into the good stuff. Music. Orville Peck. Are we all listening to Orville Peck? I learned about Orville Peck from RuPaul's Drag Race. He was a judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. I can't remember, last year at some point, one of the recent seasons, maybe the most recent season. So he's a country singer, I think. To me, it's like country, maybe sort of in the way that Elvis, he sounds like Elvis. Like his voice sounds a lot like the voice of Elvis, but then he applies it in a slightly different way in this like deep, dramatic and much more contemporary, maybe slightly folk, pop and musicals influenced way. But I think Elvis is technically, you would say, a country singer, but the music is more broad than that. It's not like deep, twangy, cliche country, I guess. I think Orville Peck is technically categorized as a country musician, but it's not the kind of cliche country music that you think of. I don't listen to a lot of country music. I listen to a lot of folk music that maybe has a little bit of a toe in country. Things like Emmylou Harris, Bonnie Raitt. The closest that I've ever come to country is knowing some Dixie Chicks songs. Like I've listened to some. I've never really owned an album and like been into a full album, but I appreciate the Dixie Chicks. To me, Orville Peck is less country even than the Dixie Chicks, while still technically being, I believe, a country artist. But I feel like, I feel like it's music anyone could love, but I don't want to tell you what you would like. I will just tell you why it's cheering me up, okay? We saw Orville on RuPaul's Drag Race. He has this intriguing gimmick. He always wears a mask covering half his face, different types of masks, but the ones I've seen him in the most are these like long fringes, half mask with long fringes. And so no one's ever seen his whole face. Like that's the thing. He's supposed to, like his identity is a secret. I just love it. So camp, right? So good. Joe and I saw him on Drag Race and we were like, oh, we should get he seems cool. We should get his album. So we bought his first full-length album, Pony, the record, the LP. We listened to a lot of music on our record player. I should have brought them down. But I'll put pictures in. I should have brought the physical records down. They're so beautiful. I put it on one day and it was like, it's sort of mild. It's sort of it sneaked up. I put it on, it seemed a little mild. I was like, oh, he sounds like Elvis, sort of croony and a little bit like background music. That's what I sort of thought when I first put it on. And then I played it a couple times over those ensuing days after I'd first gotten it. It was playing one evening and we were both sitting around like reading or something. And all of a sudden it just hit me. It's like his voice, he was singing a long note and I just was like, I love this. I was like, it like relaxed me. I just suddenly felt my soul. It just touched me and relaxed me and like inducted me into itself. And it feels spiritual to me and just deep and broad and like earthy and mysterious and historical and contemporary at the same time. It's his voice and the way that he applies it. And it's not trying too hard, kind of. I just suddenly was like, I love this. What happened was I became like a freak out Orville Peck superfan from that one album to this extreme degree, which meant that I was afraid to branch out and listen to his other albums. I was like, does this make sense? I was like, I love this one so much that I'm not ready to move on to his other music. So I listened to that one album every chance I got for like months. And then recently I just closed my eyes and did it because I was like, I have to do this. I have to break the membrane. I bought the other two albums. So Show Pony is the second one, and it is a shorter, there's a word for it, I can't remember. It's a shorter EP. It's an EP, I think. It's shorter. Have I mentioned that it's shorter? And so I listened to it for a long time, many times in a row, because I needed to like slowly move through his oeuvre to just go like one song at a time, because I really need to like know it That's how I feel. So I listened to Show Pony a lot, and I finally got what he was doing with that album. I kind of was able to understand what steps he took next after Pony, and I was like, okay, I'm on board. And then I was so afraid to listen to his newest album, which is called Bronco. I was afraid it was going to be bad, not as good, like disrupt the experience. And it took me forever. Joe was making so much fun of me. I finally, over this past week, started listening to Bronco. So I put it on just the A side one afternoon and I listened to it. I listened to just the A side several times in a row until I felt like I was really like one with it. And Joe was like, have you even listened to the B side yet? And I hadn't. And then finally, a couple days ago, I listened to the B side and then I listened to the A side and the B side together. And I feel like now it's all in me where I've integrated all the Orville Peck albums and I wasn't disappointed. That's the exciting thing. It's a little different. There's been evolution, but everything that I loved is still there. Pony will always be the original to me, but there are similar thrills in Bronco. Show Pony is kind of quirky. On Bronco, there are similar thrills to the thrills that I discovered on the first album, Pony. I'm just saying, listen to Orville Peck, but give it a chance, okay? You can't think of it like a country album or like a folk album. I feel like there is this sensibility that's sort of inspired by musical numbers from musicals. They don't sound like musical numbers from musicals, but there's a drama there, an unabashed, like full-out belting drama, but in the context of like a sort of country folk pop contemporary setting. That's there. I really love that. It's kind of like there's a corniness, but it doesn't come across that way. It's more genuine than that. I don't even know. I don't know. What I'm saying is listen to Orville Peck, but give it a chance. And you have to think of it like spiritual, like chant, like a Gregorian chant. That's like what it is to me. I've got to move on. It's been a long time since the most recent one was Dusty Stay True. Do you remember when I discovered Dusty Stay True like 2 years ago and I felt this way and I ranted this much about Dusty Stay True? That is what's happened to me. And it's been since then. That's how long it's been since I've discovered a new musical artist that I felt this strongly about. It doesn't happen very often and it's so exciting when it does. Okay, so I have watched no television. In fact, we haven't even started watching whichever seasons of Drag Race have been coming out over the past 4 months. I think that there's a current season of Drag Race UK that Joe and I haven't even started watching yet. We will definitely do it. We just haven't had time. There's been no TV watching time. And also at the beginning of maternity leave, I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like consuming any media like that. But then a window opened up during which I had long hours. I was trying to learn to breastfeed. It was so grueling. And again, at the beginning of the first several weeks, I didn't want to do anything at all except for be there and be doing it. Then there were these couple of weeks where I was just like, it was painful and it was so many hours a day and I just needed something. And I was like, Joe, I will watch one show. I was like, I'm ready to watch a show. And he watches a lot of shows. He knows all the shows. I was like, you got to pick a show for me that I can just watch and get through this little moment. It was like a week. I was like, I need to watch a show this week. And he picked for me One Piece. It was perfect. Have you heard of this? It's like One Piece was like an anime. I don't know. I'm going to do that thing where I like don't really know. There's all of this history and culture. It's like a cultural reference point that I don't really know. All I know is like the one thing that I watched. If you know and you're an expert and I get it wrong, forgive me, but I believe it was like an animated, I probably started as a comic book, like an anime comic book, a printed book. And then there was an animated series made of it some time ago. And what recently happened was that they made a live action version. I don't want to tell you what it's about because I feel like I watched it without really knowing. Joe told me though, he was like, you're going to like it because it's pirates. It's sort of fantastical. It's like a fantasy universe. You know what I mean? There's world building. World building was involved and it's sort of unhinged fantasy world building with pirates, but it's like a world of pirates. Should I tell you more? I feel like it's my job right now to tell you. I just loved that I didn't know anything when I started watching it. It was absolutely delightful not really to know anything. I think what he said was that the balance between sort of seriousness and unseriousness was really well handled. It's totally absurd, but also you really care about the characters. There's this extreme quality of plot, like the parameters of reality in the universe are very stretchy and extreme. And you would think that absurdism would make it less weighty, but then you really, really do care about what's happening and you care about the characters. It's just delightful. It is just delightful. And it's the only thing that I've watched there was like 1 week there during which I watched all 8 episodes of One Piece or however many there are in the first season. And then that was it. And I haven't watched anything else on my screen this entire time. So it's all that I have to offer you. It's a really, really good one. And I've been trying to make everyone I know watch it. So I'm extending that to you too. If you even remotely enjoy the kinds of things that I enjoy media-wise, just watch One Piece. I feel like, how could anyone go wrong with it? That's kind of how I feel. It's a gem. We've gotten to the other side with breastfeeding, by the way. It's going well now, but that was no joke. That's all I'll say on the topic. Let me tell you about the books that I've been reading lately. I think if I had filmed this last week, I wouldn't have mentioned this series because I didn't realize it was going to get its claws into me so deeply. I just stumbled across it. It was like recommended to me on my Kindle as a thing that I would like, and it turned out to be totally true, like that it is a thing that I would like. The first book is called, I think it's called The Right Sort of Man. That is because it's 2 women directly post World War II who start a marriage bureau in London. Like the original dating app, like the first version of something like Tinder. Oh my gosh, I just got really tired. I can make it. I want to tell you about this. This is what's happening to me these days. I'll be going along fine and then all of a sudden it'll be like, it's happened to me every time that I've filmed. You can do it, Poston. So it's 2 women post World War II. They start a business finding spouses for people. So people come in and they're like, I want to get married, and they like match people up. That's delightful. But then what they are is they're murder mysteries. So there's always what happens in these women's lives that they're trying to run this marriage bureau and someone always gets murdered and then they have to solve the murder in order to exonerate themselves, someone they care about, something like that. All of that is fine. That's a great plot. That's the kind of thing that I like, especially because it's like classic British detective-ish fiction, classic like British murder mystery type stuff. That's one of the categories of light reading in which I love to indulge. So I thought it would be fine because there are a lot of books like that where I start reading it. It's sufficient to entertain me. I read the entire series of 10 books or something and then I never think about it again. And it was great while it lasted. It is not the kind of thing that I would necessarily bring to you, you know? These though, the more I've read them, the more they've impressed me. And it's for a couple of reasons. One is the setting. It's really sucked me into post-World War II England and really made me think about what it was like during that time, like within the 2, 3, 5 years directly after the war had ended. I've read books set during that time. I've read a lot of books set between the wars. So it's not as though I didn't have any fictional context for what that was like. The context of fiction. It's not like I didn't have any context of fiction, or it's unusual for me to read books that are set around that time. But that's why it's remarkable that this series has particularly sucked me into the reality of that time and made me really think about it. There's just something about the way that it locks in the details and the way that the 2 main characters have experienced the war differently and the way they're experiencing recovery from the war differently. It's just particularly good historical fiction in that way. And that's not even necessarily its main, well, maybe it is kind of its main draw. I just wasn't necessarily expecting that to be the main draw for me or one of the main effects for me, but I have been appreciating it so thoroughly. I just feel really infused with knowledge of and empathy for this period in history, and it's been weaving itself in kind of to my everyday thinking, and I like that. That's what good writing does, you know, that's what good books do, and I wasn't quite expecting it from this corner. And then the other thing, which I guess is connected to that, is that the characters are really well developed and more delightfully so than I expected again from the beginning. I think it started out kind of light and then they just really crystallized and deepened, and as it goes on, they have done that more and more. And one of the 2 main characters, and this isn't a spoiler because it's something you'll learn right away if you start reading the first book. One of the 2 main characters was institutionalized for really losing control after she found out that her husband was killed in the war. Back then, you could be declared a lunatic, that's what it was called, by the court of lunacy, and lose all of your rights, basically. And especially for women, as I've learned from these books, it was very difficult, as you can imagine, to regain your rights once that had happened to you. It's terrifying, actually, to think about. And I'd never really thought about that or known about that aspect of, I mean, I guess it's pretty specific, like the British court system in the first half of the century. But it's an angle on the deeply ingrained sexism of the times that I have never encountered. And reading about this fictional character trying to recover her rights after having been declared a lunatic because she had to be briefly institutionalized for something deeply traumatic having happened to her, which is a thing that happens than to have really sexist men standing in the way at every turn when you're trying to regain your power, basically. I've gotten so sucked into it, even though they're just, these pieces of beautifully written but still relatively light detective fiction. I get so steamed up about it when I read these scenes. I feel like I'm getting into too much detail about the books right now. Like, if you want to read them, you should read them. This is just to say that I have felt very gripped by this one aspect, and it's been getting in amongst me, and I'm like reading to find out what's going to happen because I just feel so stirred up around the fate of this character and the way that systems have been and have evolved, and the way that in some ways they haven't evolved. So more than other books of this ilk, I guess, it's these ones have gripped me and have made me kind of want to stay in them, and want to keep going. So I've appreciated that, right? And this is what's cheering me up right now. And it has cheered me up to have books that have kind of accessed me on that level. So as I always say with books, if you tend to like the kinds of things that I tend to like, especially if you like this side of the things that I tend to like, mysteries, and historical fiction, then maybe check out these books. The Right Sort of Man, and I think the series is called The Right Sort of Marriage Bureau. That's what their marriage bureau is called. There are 6 books, and I think there's a 7th. Or 5 or 6. The next one's going to be released next year. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can make it through in the usual way, the last 2 things on the list. And I feel like I don't need to. The last 2 things on the list are my child and having a couple of sponsored videos happen in November, which I kind of talked about in the introduction. I just put my child on the list because, I've talked about how I'm not going to make this into a parenting channel or pregnancy channel or whatever. But it's also true that the major feature of my life that has been cheering me up over the past couple of months has been this little person. And so I just had to mention it because it's sort of silly not to. And then I'm not going to talk that much about having sponsored videos. I think I just wanted to mention it in this video because they all came kind of thick and fast, and I didn't really get a chance to take a breath, and I didn't really get a chance to check in with you all in a non-sponsored video and say, gosh, I know it's been a lot of sponsorships lately, but it's just because it's how the schedule fell. And so I kind of wanted to touch base about that. But I think I did that. I'm done. I'm cooked. It's over. We made it through another What's Cheering Me Up right now. And it makes me feel like I'm back. I was back doing new makeup hot takes and fashion video and stuff, but this makes me kind of feel like I'm back and happy to be here. So thank you, as always, for watching. I don't know that much about pop culture. I have had on my YouTube channel a series called What's Cheering Me Up Right Now, which I started in 2020 as an alternative to the traditional beauty favorites video. But I haven't filmed a What's Cheering Me Up Right Now in like a year, literally a year, not like a year. I haven't filmed one in over a year. And that is because it has been a particularly tough and dark year in this world. Like, it's a particularly heartbreaking time to be a human on the planet. And even though I've been showing up as my usual self to film beauty videos, which I love doing, behind the scenes, I have been living with a very heavy heart. So every time I've thought about it, it's like the words cheering me up turn to ashes in my mouth because things have not cheered one up, so to speak, I feel, this year. And it just hurt too much to even think about saying that. But I have still been consuming various kinds of media for respite, for comfort, to keep the demons at bay. I have still been collecting a little roster of delights and gems, and I just haven't been sharing them with anybody. So I'm here with it today, not so much what's cheering me up or what has been cheering me up, but what has been shining little pinpricks of light into the darkness. I skipped the part of the intro where I say my name is Hannah, but that is my name. And I also am a writer, and I will link my book down below here in the meat of the video, Never Before Seen. I'll link at the top of the description box, my book. What's cheering me up right now is better if it's done regularly because I'm talking about what I am like contemporarily consuming. And I feel like that's the case for some of these things, but some of them go back in time quite far because I was like casting my mind back over the year. And there are some things that I promised to talk about way back in the day that I never came back and reported back on. And I'm going to do it in this video. Okay. When we get to the book section, I'm going to do it. Never fear. And now let's move on to another topic about which I'm equally passionate. The more I work on social media, the harder it gets to like open up about what I really love. And so I've been a little bit dreading this, and now I'm in it and I'm starting to see how great the list is, and I'm starting to get enthusiastic about it again. So my brilliant friend, who I am proud to say is an actual real friend in real life, Matt Bernstein, who does this amazing work on Instagram, and you've probably seen it, right? You've probably seen these beautiful infographics with like a watercolory blue to pink background explaining the nuances of contemporary issues with beautiful visuals, impeccable grammar, to the point language, like holding the complexities of something while also clarifying all at once. I mean, he just does a brilliant job sharing information and clarifying information on social media. Again, it's like navigating this dubious medium that we've been served in the most elegant way. I absolutely love his work on Instagram. And I had only known his work on Instagram for a while. We had followed each other for a long time, but hadn't met in person yet. And then recently we did get to hang out in person. And that was magical. That's kind of side note, but it definitely cheered me up. However, it's not mainly that I'm here to tell you about today, because this is the thing. I am not a podcast girly. Have I shared this before? I do not listen to podcasts. The world has been swept away by podcasts, and I've just been left on the shore alone, being like, ain't nobody got time for that. Just never been able to get into it. And that's why it took me so long to even try. But Matt, I love his work so much that I tiptoed into the podcasting world to listen to his podcast, which is called A Bit Fruity. I went to listen to it just a few months ago, and it's so good. And again, I don't really listen to podcasts. I don't have much context, so forgive me for that. But I think this is brilliant. And I watch them on YouTube, and so you can see Matt and his guest talking. You can also listen to them, and it's perfectly fine. But I really like watching them on YouTube. But I'll put them on when I'm doing something. Classic podcast behavior, classic podcast listener now. That's me. I'll put it on while I'm cooking. But I usually have it up so I can also see. And I can see what Matt's makeup looks like, because it's always creative and impeccable. And I can, see the guest, see the vibe of the guest, which is always enjoyable. I think the first one I ever listened to and watched, an episode about Ozempic with Aubrey Gordon from Maintenance Phase. So good. Together, they're both brilliant. Together, they were so good. It's so fun to listen to. And that's maybe a really good entryway. A couple of brilliant episodes with Natalie from ContraPoints about J.K. Rowling, one about Iman Khalif with Natalie. Those were also really wonderful to listen to. The thing that's so great, and this is the thing, it's not just a podcast, but it's contemporary issues, which if you've watched What's Cheering Me Up Right Now before, you know that I tend in this video to give you a list of very escapist stuff. I'm over here watching Disney films, two things from now there is an animated film. So hold on, it's coming. Or it'll be fantasy novel. You know what I mean? I am really over here escaping in my private time. So not only has Matt pulled me into the world of podcasting, but also into the world of listening to podcast media about contemporary issues. It's just that the way that Matt handles the issues with the guests he invites, the guests are always so well informed, but also the humanity in the way that both of them always handle the issues is so refreshing, and handle the people about whom they're talking. And by that, I mean, there's always a sense of balance. The bottom line is always compassion. There's always a return to the idea these people doing this confusing thing or this hurtful thing, they must have a reason for being that way. It must have come from somewhere, empathy with that, while also saying, and it's totally not okay and it's very damaging. And let's talk about all of those facets. There's nuance. They go into the gray area. There's a lot of humor. It makes it approachable and stomachable and enriching in a way that so much media that's about contemporary issues doesn't, because it does the opposite. It flattens it, makes it black and white, makes it us against them, makes it feel disgusting, makes me feel like I want to crawl under a rock and just watch Pixar movies, So it's not just that it's fun to listen to. It's not just that A Bit Fruity is fun to listen to because it's it's funny and they're clever and all of this stuff. It's that I feel finally finding a voice that handles contemporary issues with this kind of compassion, but also from a place of, I feel, infallible moral compass. Really a strong sense of what's right and the bravery to stand up for it and articulate that. That's also important. It's not just floating. It's not just in the podcast, they're floating in the gray area being everything's okay. That's not what I mean. It's just takes on issues, but a cradle of compassion to hold all of the nuance and the humor and the takes and the feelings, and also intellectual unpacking in the case of many guests and also of Matt. Very well researched and very well informed unpacking of these issues, held in a cradle of thoughtful compassion. And that it just makes it feel like we're getting somewhere. And I really need that. I feel like I'm going to cry again. Anyway, go listen to A Bit Fruity or watch it on YouTube. I will link it down below. And I love Matt. I am also listening to another podcast. I love how I'm over here being like, I'm so cool for listening to podcasts. I'm so with it. I am basically Gen Z now because I listen to podcasts, which is like actually the opposite. Like my dad listens to podcasts. I just have always felt like I'm not cool because people are like, oh, what podcast are you listening to? I'm like, Katya, the drag queen, has I think, pretty new podcast on the Grindr channel, like Grindr YouTube channel, but you can also listen to it, I think, on Spotify through the Grindr channel, interviewing people. And I've listened to every episode. I am over here getting so much housework done because I listen to podcasts now. Only these two, though. I only listen to Matt's and Katya's podcast. And I'm not sure that I'm ready to branch out. So maybe curate your podcast suggestions for me. And by that, I mean, don't just like give me the suggestion of every podcast you've ever loved. Okay. A thoughtful, curated trickle of podcast suggestions is what I will be able to stomach in the comments based on what you know of me, based on the two that I now religiously listen to. It's Katya interviewing other famous people basically about whatever she feels like, because it'll just start off with general topics of conversation and then about like just a lot of detail about people's lives, which is, of course, riveting. And then because the concept of the podcast is, are you the asshole? Wading into these scenarios that might be considered morally gray and kind of like trying to talk about who is in the right and who isn't in those scenarios. But it's all in good fun. And it's really all about Katya's personality and the personality of the guest, which is just, that's the magic, right? Is when an interviewer has the ability to draw someone out and is also themselves very delightful. And it just ends up being like a coffee shop conversation that you wish you could have been a part of, but you are a part of it because you're listening to it on a podcast. I really love Katya, have for a long time, and I'm really enjoying this Grindr podcast. And I'm so pleased to be able to share with you my podcast listening habits. Okay, moving on. I recently watched Inside Out 2 on a plane, and it's so good. I had already seen Inside Out 1, of course. It's great. The thing that's notable about Inside Out 2, the Pixar movie, do I even need to say what it is? I mean, it's a movie that personifies the emotions as little people inside of a little girl who in Inside Out 2 is like going through puberty. And so a lot of it happens inside of her with these characters. The thing about it is that it's not just the emotion, the characters as the emotions, like joy and sadness are the two main characters. It sounds actually so cheesy and terrible when you say it out loud. I actually feel I'm in the camp that you should not try to explain Inside Out to anyone because it'll make them not want to see it, but everyone should see it because it deals not only with the sort of front-facing emotion, the characters of the emotions, but also in a gloriously metaphorical way with the subconscious and the sense of identity and the way that life experience forges a person's sense of self. I was saying I watched Inside Out on the plane and I started crying like at the first scene. I didn't cry or I did a little bit later at the like emotional resolution, right? It is emotional, but the real waterwork started just when the movie opened and I got back in touch with the premise, which is this metaphor. And when I started to see the way that Inside Out 2 is going to kind of deepen and add nuance to the metaphor of the human experience and interiority, it's just so healthy and so true that it made me, as they say, ugly cry on the plane. And the drinks cart came by and I was like, can I just have some napkins? It's fine. It was fine. And I just highly recommend it. Okay, so that's everything that I have for entertainment. That's all of the like movies and shows and stuff. And all right, I'm okay. I've been filming for half an hour. So we're probably still within the realm of reasonable. Although I think I talked about Brian Jordan Alvarez for like a full 25 minutes. But that's also okay. He deserves it. Honestly, he effing deserves it. Music. Chapel. It just has to be said, okay? And I know that I spent a lot of the first part of the video being like, I was the Brian Jordan Alvarez fan before he had a show on Hulu, before he got famous, whatever. That's not quite how I meant it. I just meant it's that much more delightful when someone you've been following for a long time starts to do bigger and bigger things, especially when you feel that that person, you are in touch with their brilliance and you're like, what the world needs now is more of this. That's how I feel. I've always felt this way about Brian Jordan Alvarez. What the world needs now is more of this, and how the world is getting more of it. So that makes it particularly exciting. Not to be that person, okay? But the same is kind of true with Chaperone, but I don't have myself to thank for it. It's my sister who, I don't know how she's like a lawyer. I don't know how she's so in touch with what's cool and good. Maybe she has like younger people at her firm who tell her what's cool, whereas I'm just out here like alone making videos and I don't know what's cool. But she, well over a year ago, you've seen the Chaperone chart, I'm sure you have, of her listens on Spotify for followers, like just being a little trickle and then suddenly going up to like 40 million or whatever. Literally like at the way back beginning of that trickly chart, like when it was just an inch of people listening. And I remember because it was when I was like halfway through my pregnancy. Ellie was like, "You're listening to Chaperone, right?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Hannah, you've got to listen to Chaperone. Are you kidding me? You're going to love it." So I went home that night and I remember putting on Chaperone and listening and being like, this is so great. And I was like, I was becoming this kind of, I was going into like a little hibernation mode. I don't know. I was becoming an egg, you know, this was just how this pregnancy that I went through was for me. I don't necessarily say that this is like this for everyone or that every pregnancy is like this. Okay. As I got more and more pregnant, loud noises sounded louder to me. Smells were stronger. I just became a little bit more, I was listening to like dreamy Gregorian chant and just being like, oh, I was not over here being like HOTTOGO. You know what I mean? I was just like, So I listened to Chaperone and I was like, this is absolutely brilliant and I can't wait to return to it when the baby's on the outside and I'm kind of like coming back to a little bit more robust of a relationship with the world, right? So I put a pin in it. Then when that happened, the baby was on the outside and he was just maybe 4 months old or something. One day I was driving to my sister's house, which is just far enough away that I was able to listen to the whole album. And I was like, I'm going to give Chaperone another try. So I turned on the album and that was when I really got it. The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess. I mean, everybody knows it's almost absurd for me to even mention Chapel and What's Cheering Me Up right now, because you all already know. You did not hear it here first. She's had like the trajectory and then like a full arc and come around again. Like everything is happening. It's great. I love to see it. I'm very excited. Just like with Brian Jordan Alvarez. It's really exciting. But at this time, it hadn't quite started yet. I listened to the whole album on the way. And when I got to Pink Pony Club, I was like, slain. It's so good. And I got to Ellie's house and I was like, Chaperone is so amazing. And she was like, I know. So I got her like the limited edition LP for her birthday. That was really exciting. I may have also gone on to get one for myself. And then she became spectacularly famous. I don't even think I need to say why the music is great because again, we all know. The thing is I am just so happy that we now live in a world where Chaperone is the most famous musical artist of the year. Like, I'm so happy that it's happening. That, again, I was like, the world needs more of this. The whole world needs this. And then the whole world was like, yeah, we want it. And it's just awesome. It is awesome. And that has really cheered me up. I mean, the music itself originally was what was cheering me up for part of the year. And then to see her meteoric rise. I know there's been drama. I don't care about that. It's just it's fine. There's always going to be stuff like that and people are always going to talk about it. But what matters is this brilliant musical artist getting her due, getting her flowers, getting the level of fame that she deserves. It's so good to see. And I cannot wait to see what she comes up with next. Okay, the time has come, the walrus said, to face the music and talk about the trashy books that I read now like over a year ago. It's been so long since I promised to tell you. I'm going to tell you. This is what happened. Books. We're talking about books. Simbri is to blame for all of it. My wonderful friend, my dear close friend Simbri, who has a brilliant Instagram account, which I will link down below. I do recommend following her. Simbri was like, Hannah, you have to read Fourth Wing. And you know, I love a piece of literature. I also love a fantasy novel. I require at least some level of integrity, like some level of quality of the writing most of the time. Fourth Wing, here's what happened. I was like, okay. I went and I started reading it. Gosh, it's been a long time, so I can only give you like the vaguest overview, and also my criticism of the writing itself would have been more incisive if I had filmed this 9 months ago, which I should have done. The plot is so gripping. It's a fantasy, right? So it's world build. There's all this world building. It's set in a dragon war college. It's a school setting. It's academia, sort of. There are also dragons. We love to see it. And it's like a cutthroat situation where a lot of people don't make it through. Like a lot of people don't live through the training to become a dragon rider. There's a little bit of sleight of hand with the world building there. Like there are some things on a large scale that don't really add up and don't really make sense about the world. And I just had to kind of swallow that. There are some ticks in the sentence structuring that I also had to just live with. But I lived with it because the plotting is so gripping and I just immediately was sucked into it. And it just sweeps you along. It is relentless and it's quite beefy. So it was really fun to like get into it, get really into the story, get really into what was going to happen. It was just what I needed at the time. I do recommend Fourth Wing. However, I got like 2/3 of the way through so I knew already that it was kind of like an enemies to lovers thing because I think it says that on the cover, which is sort of annoying. I wish that they would have just held that information back from the cover because I sort of knew. And it would have been nice not to know. So it's enemies, enemies, enemies. And then we get into the lovers part and it's like extremely graphic. And I was like, Simbri, is this a romance novel? Like full on? It kind of is. She tricked me. They all tricked me. Simbri, the writer of Fourth Wing, all two of them, they tricked me into reading this like sex book. Which is fine. I'm not against it. I mean, I'm the one listening to the Grindr podcast. It's just, I was into it, but I would not have chosen to get into it if I had known what it was, you know? But then since I was in it, I was into it. So I read it and I can't say I don't recommend it, honestly. And here's what happened. I finished it. There's also a second one now, like Fourth Wing, the sequel has come out. It's okay. It's a great like beach read or vacation read, airplane read, like really gripping. You will be in its grip. And it's great to have a book like that in your back pocket. And this is a book like that. I got to the end of it and I was like, it's over. And now it's released me from its grip. I'm still in its grip, but there's no more to read, right? And it's like a cliffhanger. So on my Kindle, the Kindle was like, readers who enjoyed Fourth Wing also enjoyed this. And that's right, my friends. It was ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the one, the only Sarah J. Maas. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'll try it. It's not bad. It's not so there's literature. It's not that. And then there are all of these books that have been my pleasure reading for a lot of my adult life, which are like literary historical fiction or like literary mysteries where it's not the same as literature, but it's very close to the line. And there are a lot of the same standards are there in terms of like character building, especially in terms of the style of the prose, the subtlety of the messaging, the pacing, like all of that is highly valued. So I'm thinking of something like the Three Pines Mysteries by Louise Penny, which I've talked about before. They're just really well written, really well done, not a hair out of place, like impeccable, you know? And the plot is also gripping. But it's like the characterization is incredibly deep. Again, grounded in humanity. And it's like you are sort of opening like rooms and spaces into your own connection to humanity through it, which is like what great literature does, even though it's just on this side of the line between like murder mysteries and actual literature, you know? So that's like been my entire purview. Over here we have ACOTAR. It's like crack cocaine. It is like, it's still reading books, you know what I mean? But it's just like a candy version, which is just to say that everything, the characterization, the plot, everything is designed to just drive you through at a rapid rate of speed. Like you're inhaling the entire story. Like everything's designed to just make you like inhale the entire story, going and going and going at the expense of some of those subtler points. And of course, it's just as sexy, right? It's also got that as well. Everything that makes a book, like the literary version of crack cocaine, is in these books. And there's this fantasy world. So I proceeded to blaze through every book in the ACOTAR series and all the other things she's written as well, except for the Throne of Glass. I couldn't get into Throne of Glass. It was just not good. I read the first one. I felt it was not good. A Court of Thorns and Roses and its 4 books that come after it. And then the Crescent City ones, which I really loved as well. When I was reading these, I remember thinking about what I would say and what's cheering me up right now. And it was just, again, I had a lot more of a robust critique to give. I had a lot to say at the time. And now it's just kind of in the past because it's been like a year since I read them. And it's probably for the best, right? Because it's kind of a niche, sort of a niche thing, although I know a lot of people have read them or are reading them. I knew I had to confess at some point in the past, I kind of indicated that I was reading this type of thing. And I just wanted you to know that is what it is. It is what it was. You all knew what it was who have read it. You all knew, and it is what it was. Now I'm reading something that's a little bit more like the first thing I described, that it tends to be the kind of popular fiction that I read. Anthony Horowitz, who wrote Magpie Murders, has this quirky series, Horowitz and Hawthorne, where it's like he places himself as the modern day Watson / Conan Doyle to a modern day Sherlock Holmes, but in a really unexpected way. That's so fun. He's written himself into the books as a writer who's writing about a detective, and it's just contemporary detective fiction. There are 5 of them. They're so fun to read. And that's the kind of thing that I usually recommend, that I usually read. If you usually enjoy what I recommend books-wise and the breathless, shirtless experience of, what's it called? Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is its own thing. I feel like Sarah J. Maas is a better writer, actually. I think I would probably actually recommend ACOTAR, even though it's a whole thing. I would probably recommend it first. Fourth Wing, though, is even more drug-like of an experience, I would say. I actually do recommend them. But if that all sounds terrible, it's like fantasy. I didn't even say what A Court of Thorns and Roses is. Just look it up, okay? I'll link it. Fantasy books. If that sounds bad to you, try Hawthorne and Horowitz. Okay, last thing on the list, some habits. What's cheering me up right now, I originally conceived of it as a favorites video where instead of talking about this is my favorite lip gloss, this is my favorite body wash, which is what favorites traditionally are on beauty YouTube. Instead of that, we'll talk about what it is in my life that's not stuff that you buy that I think is actually improving the quality of my life and the day-to-day. So things like media, of course, are relevant to that, the things that I've been talking about. But even more relevant are lifestyle habits. And so I always put a couple of those in. Since I got it together after the hardest of the postpartum months, I've been dressing better than I ever did before, I feel. As someone who works from home, I've just been getting it together more and more frequently. And it's partly because I understand my aesthetic a little bit more and my viewpoint is a little more focused now, my aesthetic viewpoint for fashion. It's something I've been talking about in a lot of videos. Basically, what it is that I've been talking about in those videos, the recent video about my Pinterest board, the upcoming video about my capsule wardrobe, all of that, it actually has had bearing on the quality of my life. It's really made me feel more together, feel more present. I feel like a habit that I'm developing is just dressing better in my adult life. And it's significant enough of an upgrade that it deserves a spot in what's cheering me up right now. I just love being a bit more put together, even if I'm just working at home. And I recommend it in the way that people say, you should make your bed every day, no matter what. It's yeah, make your bed and get dressed. For me, getting dressed has been fundamental, especially in the past couple of months. Another thing that Joe and I have recently done, a little tweak that we've recently made, we've been scrambling to get to a place where we have enough time to do the amount of work we need to do to feasibly make the channel run for us to make a living. We basically, with having a kid and moving to a new house, both of those things took such huge bites out of our capacity, our ability to work, both time-wise and energy-wise, that we found ourselves after we moved really in the hole. We were wow, we're way less productive than we were before. We're doing way less, and it's having a serious impact on our livelihoods, right at the time when you can ill afford for that to happen, which is when you just had a baby and bought a house and moved to a new house. Since that happened and we were oh my gosh, we've just been doing everything we can to get the pieces to fit back together again so that we can continue to do enough work. It's been a little bit touch and go. And so in the process of that, and we're fine. We're going to be fine, especially now the ship is sort of starting to balance out again. Don't worry about us. Although if you want to contribute, you can join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Okay? And there's actually a whole bunch of old videos on there you could go back and watch. But we are fine, in no small part due to the people who are on Patreon, though. I mean, like, my Patreon patrons really help keep the ship sailing. So just know that. We are fine. But in the course of that, we really lost our grip on something that's always been really important to us, which is setting aside enough practical time in the day for self-care. So I was doing a thing where I was like getting up, getting the baby up, getting breakfast, and then as soon as the baby was like cleaned up after breakfast, I would like hand him off to Joe and I would immediately start working. And I like wouldn't be dressed, wouldn't have showered, wouldn't have makeup on, wouldn't have exercised, wouldn't have meditated, wouldn't have done any writing or like gotten in touch with myself at all. I would just be like, I have to edit that video. We have to get that video up. And I would start working. And then it would be like 11:45 and I would like have like a bad taste in my mouth because I hadn't like brushed my teeth that morning. And it would be time to start getting lunch ready for the baby. And I would feel like groggy and still in my pajamas. But it just felt like we were college kids pulling an all-nighter all the time because we had to be, because we were behind on work. We just constantly felt like we're behind. We're not doing enough. We have to sacrifice everything on the altar of work, which is flies in the face of everything I've ever said, either on or behind the camera, that one should do, including the bit about taking extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself. Like, we forgot because we panicked. We're like, we have to work. We have to do more. And all of that went out the window. Gosh, I feel like it was about 3 weeks ago. One day I said to Joe, I was like, I have got to start taking care of my body. I've got to start exercising a little. I've just got to start dedicating time. So I was like, I'm not going to start work so early in the morning. After breakfast, I'm going to take some time to put myself together and take care of myself and then start work. Which a year ago, like, that was a given. Or a couple of years ago, our entire, almost 15 years together now, that's been a given. That's how we've always functioned. We've always functioned from this place of self-care being pretty important and making sure that it's in balance. And we had just totally lost the plot. And it felt sort of rebellious at the moment to be like, I'm not going to work with every moment in the day that we have. I'm not going to start working until after I've taken care of myself a little bit. We were both like, let's try that. Like, we were both like, oh my gosh, it's going to be risky because we're going to have to lose some work hours and we're already scrambling so much. But Joe immediately agreed and he was like, I'm going to do the same thing. We just need to, no matter how hard it is getting with work, no matter how behind we feel, no matter how much we feel like we're scrambling, we've got to take work off of the top peg of priority and stick it down underneath, like self-care, just basic care for the body, care for the spirit, just a little bit of ritual self-care. We have to stick it down a peg and put the other one on top, because otherwise we're going to just run ourselves completely into the ground, and we can't. We were already doing that. That was why I said this out of desperation. Well, my friends, let me tell you what happened. I started doing that 3 weeks ago, and predictably, we've been much more productive these 3 weeks because we've been more focused. We've had our brains together a little better. We've had our production meetings. Everything's just run more smoothly. I've had more capacity. Things are finally starting to get back on track. It's like that was actually the missing piece, right? Taking care of ourselves was the missing piece. Not doing it was why we were not our most effective version of ourselves. Duh. It was like I needed to take my own advice. I wasn't. For a long time, I wasn't doing it. Of all of these things on the list, except for maybe, no, they're all great. I was going to say of all of the things that on this list, this is probably the thing that's cheered me up the most. And that is probably true. I was cheekily going to say, like, except for Brian Jordan Alvarez. No, I think it is true, actually, that of all the things on this list, the thing that has had the most profound impact on my daily life is what has felt like a radical act of demoting the obsession with productivity down below the value of just self-care and balance. We saw an immediate improvement in the running of things, in the mechanisms of things. And I wanted to share that with you because I know that this is a battle that many of us fight. And frankly, showing up for work and just being able to do the project that I set out to do here, making videos about aesthetics and just still dwelling in this space here with you all, that has really helped me to center, to reorient, helped to keep me going through this challenging year. And I'm so grateful to be able to keep doing it. Thank you for being here with me for this epic What's Cheering Me Up Right Now. I hope that it cheered you up, and I hope that you will enjoy some of these things that I've been enjoying. Here's what happened. January started and immediately I felt like I was really getting myself together. I just felt like a handful of key habits, but also some acquisitions, like some key cute things, useful things, just things I'd kind of been putting off getting for myself for a while because I was like, oh, I don't want to spend money on myself, blah, blah, blah. But then I was just like, it's 2025. I'm getting myself together. I'm going to buy the thing. A bunch of things came together and suddenly I was like, I'm doing it. Like, this is great. And then I conceived of this video, kind of like a what's cheering me up right now, but hybrid, wedded with a little bit more of a traditional YouTube favorites, because I am going to share with you the handful of actual items. I try not to do that too much in favorites videos because I don't want it to be like, if you buy these things, then your life will be good, because I just feel like that's the lie of capitalism. And actually, if you're curious to know like a more extended and also nuanced take on my thoughts on that, watch my video about the problem with the fantasy self. The kind of dual nature of the expectation that if you buy something to achieve a fantasy of yourself, that can work. Because sometimes it actually is related. Like sometimes an object is related, as I think it is in my case right now, like the things that I'm going to tell you, but it's not that simple. You can't only buy the thing, you know, and I really go into that in that video. It's a banger. You should watch it, especially adjacent to this video. Anyway, I got all excited to tell you what is causing me to really and truly get myself together in January. And then I was felled by a vicious illness for like 2 weeks, and I just did not feel any longer like I was getting myself together. I'm almost on the other side of that, and I'm back to let you have it. Some of it's stuff that I've bought. Most of it's just stuff that I've been doing. All of it has been getting me together, and I'm going to tell you what it all is. If you like it, I hope you subscribe. Check out my book. I am a published poet, prize-winning poet. Another way to get yourself together is to read Julia Hungry. I'll link it at the top of the description box below. And now let's get into the meat of the video. I just didn't want to gatekeep, you know? That was what it was. I was like, I have got to tell the girls about this, whatever, other things I'm going to tell you. And then I was like, oh, but I don't want it to be like, buy these things and you'll be happy like I'm feeling. And then I was like, but I don't want to gatekeep. Like, I have to share the good news. But the first thing that I've been doing is following through with the New Year's resolution that I shared on my Patreon, but I don't think I talked about it on big YouTube yet. I just want to, actually, it's my New Year's resolution every year is to have better posture. And this is kind of that times 100. It's like I'm really working to get the poise and structure and just the energy back into my spine, back into my shoulders, my carriage. Since it got sapped from me, since like my poise and energy got sapped from me over the course of early parenthood, is basically what it was, like breastfeeding, just the crucible that is the first year basically of parenting. I emerged from it all hunched over and just with all of it, feels like all of this like blockage in my body. And I just was like, in 2025, I am going to push back against that and kind of get back to the dancerly body that I am used to living in. It has taken more than anything force of will. That's what it's taken. It's taken force of will. It's taken me being like, this is my New Year's resolution. But it's also taken me doing a little bit of stretching, just working out consistently. The fact that I'm still using the Trainwell app and I still have an unbroken streak, you guys. I talked about it. It was a sponsored video. This isn't sponsored. It was a sponsored video kind of about New Year's resolutions also, actually. So I'll link that in case you haven't seen it and you can learn more about if you want to know more about it. But it's great. I'm still using it. So I have been limbering up my body a little bit more and stretching a little bit more. So it's that feeding into just this commitment, this mental commitment to a kind of energized posture that is making a huge difference. And there's like a mindfulness aspect to it too, because I have to remember several times a day to walk like the dancer that I have been for most of my life, you know, instead of like just like hunching around, like loping around, you know what I mean? It's remembering that I want to do that, remembering that I've committed, and then allotting the energy to it instead of just being like, no, I need that energy for something else. Of course, ironically, it gives you more energy. You know what I mean? Moving with that kind of a posture, that there's a feedback loop. It creates more energy, but you can't create energy out of energy if you have no energy to give, which is like how it's been for over a year until now. So posture, stretching, working out just a little bit every day, which I had already been doing, right? That was sort of the setup. Like I teed up this New Year's resolution and then I was poised to take it on, and then it's really been getting me together. Adjacent to that, I decided to support myself with some new activewear. Because if you saw my pants declutter, okay, you know that my leggings collection was embarrassingly wretched. So old. I think I always, for years, I thought of myself as someone who had so many leggings, and I definitely didn't need new leggings. I think what happened was that kind of was true during a point in my life, and I really didn't need more leggings, but I kind of kept acquiring them here and there, and it sort of was not in perspective. And then I hit my no-buy year in 2018, and I really had a revolution in the way that I conceived of shopping, acquiring things, the way that I conceived of my collection of belongings. And as part of that, I developed this narrative, which was definitely true at the time in 2018. I developed this one of many ways of talking about certain kinds of garments that has helped me keep perspective. And it was this: you don't need any more leggings. You have so many leggings. Like, no matter how tempting a legging may be, just don't buy leggings of all things. I started telling myself that in 2018. It was totally true. But I've been telling myself that since 2018. That was 7 years and a pregnancy ago. That was like another lifetime and another body. And I've done a lot of leggings wearing since then, and a lot of dancing in leggings. I have worn my leggings out. And it became clear when I did my pants declutter and I tried them on that a lot of them were too small, and also wrecked. Like, more to the point, they were just not in any kind of shape anymore. They were done. And when I weeded them all out, I was left with, I think, one legging in a color that I kind of regret, and then one other pair of leggings that I wore for a lot of pregnancy, and that is a little bit stretched out, to be honest. I didn't say that at the time, but it's true. So I've been working out in my pajamas, just nothing, like in loungewear, mostly pajamas, but just anything that I could move in. I haven't been wearing workout clothes because I don't have any. I just didn't have any. But I was starting from nothing. I was doing like 15, 20 minutes a day. It didn't feel high stakes because I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel good at it. I was just like crawling to the workout every day and being like, Over time, I got stronger. And by the time 2025 started and I was like, I'm coming at it with poise and posture, I felt strong enough that I was like, well, I'm going to these workouts and I feel like I can do it. I feel strong. So I think I could benefit from some activewear that I could put on to do the workout so that I can really feel like I'm fully in my body and like doing an activity and not just half like grasping at it like I kind of felt like I was doing when I was doing it in my pajamas. You can still hear the sickness in my voice. I know I apologize. I'm mostly better. It's been a long one. So I decided to allot a little bit of budget to like a couple of workout sets, like leggings and bra top sets. First, I tiptoed into Quince, which is kind of my go-to when I was just not going to go to like Lululemon and spend, hundreds of dollars on just like a few measly things. I mean, I can't actually, like it's just not possible. I needed an alternative to that. So I got a couple pairs of leggings and one bra top from Quince. The ones that I really like are the more lightweight fabric that they make. I got like this sort of dusky olive green set, a little bit out on a limb for me, but it was just the color that I was feeling and I really like it. The set is so cute. I really like that. But the thing that I didn't want to gatekeep, because like everybody knows about Quince, I feel the thing that I didn't want to gatekeep is this. Somewhere along the way, I don't remember how I even stumbled across it. I stumbled across what I guess is a Lululemon dupe brand on Amazon. Not usually the kind of thing that I would be like really enthusiastic about buying or sharing. But y'all, I cannot keep it from you. I cannot tell a lie. Like it is so, the clothes are so good. I swear this is one of those places that like has access to the factory and the patterns or something. Like I think that there is someone on the inside at Lululemon like has branched off and is selling the same thing. Probably not exactly the same because I can't compare the reviews. Some of the reviews are like, oh, it's almost exactly the same. Like the fabrics may be a tiny bit different, but I am really picky about fabric. It's really good. And the fabric content, I mean, it's activewear, right? So it's all blends. They're like some poly, some cotton, nylon, that kind of thing. Activewear is the one clothing realm in which I will accept those kinds of materials, right? But the blends are right. They're a lot like the more high-end things. This hoodie that I'm wearing is one. So what I did was I got like 2 pairs of leggings from them and a bra top. And I got this little jacket, which is what I've needed. I've needed something to put on over my like bra tops and leggings because it's a little chilly to work out in. And I wanted it to feel really polished and I wanted it to be a sophisticated color like this. It's the perfect sort of milky bone, really nailing the undertone. That's the thing about this. I'll of course link it. CRZ Yoga. Y'all, they've really gotten me together. Is it too much to say I've been feeling cunty? Like I have been feeling I've been feeling gym girly just in this one. I want to say it was $30. $30. Like if you go to Lululemon for this kind of thing, and it feels so Lulu to me. Like it feels so Lululemon to me. The structure of it. I think it's a dupe for their scuba hoodie or whatever. It's cropped. It's supposed to be like a cropped tight thing. I got it. I sized way up because I wanted it to be a little bit loose, but I did want that cropped waistline. It's absolutely perfect. I think I got an XL. And I think my proper size would have been a medium, but I didn't want something really tight. I guess it doesn't take much, but this one $30 Lululemon dupe zip up has completely gotten me together. I've been like sashaying around my house being like, I work out, she goes to the gym. That's what I've been like. I've been like, can you tell from this that she goes to the gym? And I don't go to the gym. I just like work out in the corner of my house. I had to tell you about CRZ yoga. My collection is not stopping here, even though it's inexpensive. Like about half the price, if not less than that of the cost of places like Lululemon, Athleta, et cetera, et cetera. I still can't go buying like a huge workout wardrobe right away. I have to pace myself, but I feel like it's going to be a little legging here, a little bra top there until I'm like kitted out in CRZ yoga. Let's move on. So skincare, I feel like I've been doing better with skincare than I was in the last couple months of last year. And there are a couple of products that I'll mention, but they are not the key. The key has been time. And I've said this before in passing, and I've been thinking about it recently. Again, I've been like ruminating on my own past casual tossed off statement. It's like come back to haunt me. I guess haunt isn't the word because it's not been bad. It's been a delightful, positive haunting, like a kind of ghost you want around, a ghost of my past statement. The statement was this, that skincare is really a matter of time, the time that you allot to it. Basically, the concept is that how much your skincare costs, how fancy it is, how active it is, what it does, whether it's like the perfect shelfie, the perfect combination. None of that matters if you don't take the time to apply it. And if you do dedicatedly take the time to really apply your skincare every day and every night, then you're going to do better even if you have a simpler routine, maybe like even like less quality products. Even if your routine has less quality products than someone else, if they have all these fancy expensive products, but they're just slapping them on willy-nilly once in a while, kind of forgetting, not really committing, not really taking the time, your skin's going to do better. Right? So what I've been doing is I've really been into soothing the dry skin. And so I got a couple of things to do that, but I've also been taking the time. So in the morning, I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I take the time to pat the serum products into my skin to really let it sink in, to layer, to nourish. I do a lot of layers, leave time before I go in with makeup so that it can really soak in. I'm just focused on giving myself the time, not rushing it and thinking that other things are more important. I mean, there are other really important things going on, but I make sure that I make the time, right? At night, I've been more frequently taking a bath in order to mask in the bath. And the way that I've made it make sense with timing is that I've been getting in the bath like right after the baby's bedtime. And that has also helped me reduce my screen time in the evening, which was also one of my resolutions. Because if I start running the bath, like basically as he's falling asleep and I get right in the bath, I don't have time to get caught up scrolling and just like, I don't know, like deciding which CRZ yoga legging I'm going to buy next. Like, suddenly an hour is gone. And then I start the bath and then like I've deadened my brain with screen time for an hour before I've even started this bedtime routine. And then I'm less likely to take the time to do like a couple different masks in the bath. I'm less likely to sit there for as long of a time with the mask on. So I've been getting right into the bath, basically starting the bedtime routine as soon as I can. Joe calls it the bath path. I like get on the bath path right away instead of waiting an hour before getting on the bath path at night. And because of that, I have been doing more masking. My skin's been softer, more hydrated, etc. So time has been the key, but here are the couple of products that I feel like have been helping me a lot. For masking in the bath, this is K-Beauty, Beauty of Joseon, Ground Rice and Honey Glow Mask. It's funny, I think of this as an oatmeal mask. It's like this chunky, really soothing, moisturizing. I mean, the honey will do that. It might not even have oatmeal in it, but it seems like that's one of the ingredients based on the color. I'm gonna look it up. It doesn't look like it has oatmeal in it as an ingredient. It's a bunch of rice products like Rice Bran, rice hull, powder, and then honey. And the honey is a really great ingredient in a mask. This is amazing. It doesn't dry down really dry and crusty like a mud mask. It stays soft on the skin, but it's nice and thick, a little bit chunky, really, really effective. Easy to sit there for like 20 minutes in the bath, 30 minutes. I'm usually reading in the bath. I'm reading my Kindle. I mean, usually, always. Like that's always what I'm doing in the bath. My skin loves colloidal oatmeal, and I've been thinking that that's what this was, and it's not. That makes me think I could get another mask that is oatmeal and incorporate it, and I could like double mask or do one night and one the next. Kind of excited that this isn't the oatmeal mask I thought it was. But yeah, ground rice and honey mask It's $18, which I feel like is a great price for this size. I've been using it for a long time. I've been using it for weeks and many nights. And I feel like I use a lot at a time. It just feels like a pretty hefty amount. This is the kind of thing at this price that I would re-up on in an instant. Actually, as soon as I saw when I was holding it up, I was like, I'm running kind of low. I should go ahead and buy another one. And it's so worth it to me. The product at the price, what it does, it's really getting me together. Another relatively affordable K-beauty skincare product. This was a recommendation from the comments. Thank you to the person who recommended this in the comments. I immediately went and got it. It's $15, at least that's what it was when I bought it. It's the Purito Dermide Cica Barrier Sleeping Pack. Purito has kind of rebranded since I last checked in with them, and I like what they're doing, right? I like it. It's fresh, it's very clean, it feels good. This is a pretty hefty, creamy, and don't get me wrong with this word, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's a little bit of a gluey cream. It's not though. It's not gluey at all. Like the word gluey, I think it's probably taken you all to like a place that this doesn't go. It's just a cream. Like it isn't sticky like that. It's just maybe on the scale, on the gluiness scale from 0 gluiness to 100 gluiness, where 100% gluiness is like, it feels a little bit like it's really glue, like it's going to dry down. Most skincare products are pretty much at a 0. Like there isn't really gluey skincare out there that we like. And this is at maybe like a 5 out of 100, right? Or maybe even an 8, right? It's just a tiny bit stiffer, a little bit more body and a little bit more stick, just a little bit more than most skincare products, which is great because it's beefier, but it doesn't have enough oil content, not enough occlusivity to really be that like sealing final layer. I tried it a couple nights as that, like putting on all my other evening skincare and then putting this as the last layer and then sleeping, and I woke up with my skin feeling a little bit dry, quite dry actually. But it's a great second to last step. Really nourishing. A little bit goes kind of a long way. Coat the skin and then tap just a little bit of like the Aaron's Face's Tamanu balm or a little bit of facial oil on top just to seal it in. And this is great. So I'm glad that I have this. And again, taking the time to put on a second to last layer and then a last layer. This has been really awesome. It's just pure nourishment, pure moisture, right, for the skin. And then the last thing I've already talked about in my overhead video about organizing all of my stuff, so I won't go on about it, but I've continued to really love this. This is a more expensive product than the other two, but a little bit goes a very long way. And I bet I'll probably go through 3 or 4 Beauty of Joseon ground rice and honey masks before I have finished with this, right? Even though I've been using it consistently and I've been taking the time. My use of this really drives home what I've been thinking and saying about the dedication of time being the way in which I'm taking better care of my skin, right? Because this is a hydrating milky essence. So I've been using it to do the 7 skin method, putting a few drops in the palm of my hand, tapping them into my skin, letting it soak in, a couple more drops, tapping it in. I usually just go through maybe 3 times, letting it really build up, kind of like pushing it into the skin until the skin is super saturated with it, and then layering more skincare on top. I've been doing that with this. It's been delightful. It's been really working. I love doing it in the morning before I put makeup on. It really makes makeup go on nicely on plumped, smooth skin. And I've been doing it in the evenings before I put on my sleeping pack and occlusive layer, etc. So putting time towards those really nice, nourishing skincare products and soothing my skin, babying my skin, it's really been getting me together. Oh yes. So this is just purely a product that has replaced other products of its kind. And I also already talked about it in my video, my Lauren May Beauty Made Me Buy It video. So I'm not going to go on. But the Fleur Vanilla Skin Deodorant is really getting me together. I love it so much more than the serum deodorants that I had been using, but it does still have the acids in it that help to kill the bacteria in the underarms. It's in a stick form. It smells like cotton candy. I thought it was going to be too sweet at the beginning. I grew to absolutely love it. It's nice to feel like you're putting like a viral gourmand scent onto your body when you apply your deodorant. And because it's just deodorant, I'm not spraying it all over, the intense cotton candiness, the cotton candy of it all is not like wafting from my body in waves. In fact, Joe said that he hadn't even really noticed it, but I can smell it. I smell it a lot, but I kind of like it. It's a lovely, strong, sweet, and maybe slightly vanilla tinged cotton candy. Like if you had a gourmet marshmallow or like a gourmet cotton candy, if Martha Stewart made cotton candy at home or made a marshmallow, It's like that. I think I didn't realize that my deodorant, as much as I feel like those serum deodorants with AHAs in them are effective, and I'm really glad that that is a trend now in the world of deodorant, to put those acids in, natural deodorants, because that's the only truly effective type of natural deodorant I've ever found. So I've been really glad that they exist, but I hadn't realized how much I dislike the squelchy serum quality of them, because I've just been like, this is the only deodorant for me. It's the only thing that I really truly think is great, until I came across this, which is like the best of both worlds. I feel like my 2025 so far has been marked by this being in my life. And I feel like, in spite of all that we're facing in this year, there's promise, right? The year has promise. So the last two things are a little bit more like lifestyle and behavioral, and maybe just, well, one is kind of New Year's resolution-y. I'm doing dry January, and I'm also taking the month off of eating sweet treats all the time, which I had kind of been doing. I hadn't historically been like a constant flow of sweet treats person, and I knew that I needed to get back to a more occasional relationship with sweet treats. So doing a hard reset, which is like a classic January behavior. You know what I mean? And I'm doing that. And the thing that has really helped is having something that's special, that's not alcoholic or made with sugar, to have in the place of those things during the day to give me a little something, right? So making tea, making like a nice mug of tea after lunch instead of having like a piece of chocolate like I've been doing for a year. At night, making like a natural like hot chocolate alternative after dinner. Like I've been using the Bloom hot cocoa. I also really like Clever blends for that. You know, these like creative, maybe slightly sweet latte alternatives, but like not sweetened with cane sugar, you know? So it's still a treat, but it's not like, again, eating half a chocolate bar after dinner, which is what I've been doing for a year. So I think it's worth bringing up, because when I first started the month and I was like, okay, no sugar treats, no alcohol, the first day came and I was like, this is terrible. Like, what am I going to do? I just need like something, you know? And then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot there's such a thing as like a non-alcoholic cocktail, or I can make like a concoction of sparkling water with a little bit of tart cherry syrup, and like I can have something festive to drink that's not alcoholic. Like it took me a second to remember my tools. That's the thing I didn't want to gatekeep. Like that's the thing that I wanted to impart to you. You can lean on something else as a little bit of an easing off of the crutch of the thing, you know? And the same thing has been true for me for sweet treats, like just a little something that's just not that. So that's been really great. And then this might be this last one that I put on the list, is just, I have found myself being a bit more mindful in the everyday of my desire to just let go of things. And that is probably just a new year, new me type thing, right? It's the first year of the month. I'm doing all these other things that are measures of health, and they all kind of build on each other and make me more mindful, because I feel more together. This last one on the list, it's probably not actually a thing that's getting me together. It's probably a result of me feeling like I have gotten myself more together. What happens is it's like a domino effect, right? I'm doing all these things to get myself together. I feel a little more gotten together. And that means that I am more mindful in every moment. And then I'm better able to catch myself in the act of getting hooked by something that happens in the moment that I don't like, trying to engineer things to be a certain way, feeling like the way that I'm feeling isn't okay, the way things are going isn't okay, wishing that I could like control somebody else's choices, someone else's actions, trying to like have like too firm of a grip, like a vice grip on what's going on around me or what's going on inside of me. I feel like I've been doing a better job of catching myself when I'm going down that path, and then just being like, oh, there's another option, which is just to let it go. And you can just do that instead. And nothing bad will happen. Literally nothing bad. Even if the other person goes on to do a thing that wouldn't be the thing I would have chosen for them, you know, it's actually fine. Like, it's just fine. It's like from here to here, and it's fine. Like either one is fine. And then I've let it go, and it's way better. I've noticed an increased ability to do that. And it's funny, when I made this list, I thought that was like another thing getting me together. But no, I think that when I am gotten together, then that's the way that I am, my just slightly better self. So in spite of being like speaking to you from a froggy throat still, I feel gratified by the tools and ways that I have reached for in this like flush of energy that often comes with the new year. And I thought that it made sense to just sit down and record that and hopefully keep the energy going, because by this time it's almost February. Right? So maybe we can keep it going in February and just not let that dedication of energy to the self, like to taking better care of ourselves, not let it die, right? Let's continue to take better care of ourselves as the year continues. today, a YouTube classic, old school, and the kind of video that nobody watches anymore. Chatty get ready with me where I've been. Because I missed we missed a week of posting, basically. And so there was a big gap. It's something that I do want to talk about. And then there are a couple of other things. I have notes, like things that I've been meaning to mention or the people that asked me to talk about. I'm just going to put makeup on, my regular makeup for today, and chat and go over all of that. I'm feeling a little low energy. I feel like it can't be true that I'm getting sick again. You know, this is the life of someone with a toddler because the toddler's sick again. I'm getting what he has. So apologies if the vibes are a little chill today. Maybe I'll perk up as we go through. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. I already feel perked up because it's sort of shaping up to be hybrid, like a hybrid. What's cheering me up right now? Chatty get ready with me where I've been. I started drinking ceremonial drinking cacao. I think I got Instagram ad targeted by, I want to say it's called Oro. There are a bunch because once I went to the Oro site, I started getting Instagram ad targeted by a bunch of competing companies, like competitors. So clearly it's a thing right now that several companies are trying to do. Anyway, I really like this one. I got the sample pack. I ended up selecting the one that has like adaptogen mushrooms mixed into it. And then I got like a big pack of that and I've been drinking it almost every day. It's just classic drinking chocolate. Like it's really thick. If you just use a little bit of oat milk, which is what I use, it's really thick and it's perking me up. Okay, one topic covered. We're doing it. It's happening. I'm going to put on my sunscreen, the Elta MD. I've been wearing it every day. It's extremely green. It's like fluorescent green in color when you look at it, the blob that you squeeze out, but then it blends out pretty clear. So it doesn't really do the green color correcting that a green color corrector in that color would do. I still really like the fact that it's green because it's designed for people who deal with redness. And also, if it's going to be a color, I would rather it be green, even if the tint is just ever so slight, than be tinted like tan or orange or something. Even if that ends up being clear, it's like I would rather the very light watercolory hint of a barely nothing. I would rather that color be green. And I would rather it be green than like a slightly chalky white too. So I've just been really happy with that. And it feels like skincare. It goes on like skincare. And it's so sturdy on the face and comfortable that I feel comfortable going in with like a primer right on top. So I'm going to use this NARS Light Reflecting Hydrating Primer just a little bit. I've been enjoying this product a lot too. It's simple. It doesn't cause any problems. It adds a nice layer of hydration. It adds a nice reflect, but it's not too extreme in any one direction. Where I've been, I'm going to put on this. Oh, this is new. This is what I got to replace my green color corrector, the one that I had completely used up. This is the Givenchy, and I got this because it's basically the only green color corrector at Sephora that I had experience with that I knew I could depend on. And I was getting a couple of other things from Sephora to test, which I'm not going to talk about today because I think that'll be its whole own separate video. And I was like, I really want to replace my green color corrector at the same time. And this was the only one that I felt confident in. So I have it again. I've had it before. While you're watching the footage of me putting this on my skin and blending it out, I'll go ahead and start telling you what happened last week. So as many of you know, this YouTube channel is actually my day job. This is how we pay the bills. My husband and I run the channel together. We really love it as a day job. It's a lot of work, but we like working for ourselves. And I like that it's dynamic, it changes all the time, and it's creative. But my actual lifelong calling is as a writer. So I am a poet. I have my master's degree in poetry, and I just recently published my first book. This is old news to a lot of people, and I'll link the launch video from my poetry book. I'll link that in the cards in case you want to learn more about it. So the book has been out for about a year, and partway through last year, I got invited to be one of the featured writers at a literary festival, the New Voices Literary Festival at Ithaca College, which is a festival that they throw every year. Every year they invite just 7 writers who are pretty early in their publishing career. So people who have usually just one book, but sometimes it's 2 books. The students who run the festival spend the entire semester studying the books of the writers. And then at the end of the semester, the writers come to the festival and are hosted by all of these students who are intimately familiar with their work, which is just brilliant as the design of an event like this. The students, and the festival is totally student organized, which again is totally amazing because the students were so dedicated, so good at delegating, so thoughtful, detail oriented, and everything just went on off without a hitch. I don't want to wear a lot of base today. I'm going to do a little bit of spot concealing with this NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. But the students also they'd been reading the books and studying the books really deeply all semester. So they really knew us, the 7 of us who were the writers attending the festival, they really knew us as writers very, very well. And it created kind of an extraordinary environment for discussing literature and discussing the details of writing and the themes of the work. It was to the point where I think all of us, including the 7 writers, and we weren't really expecting this, but all of us were able to start seeing how some of the themes were shared across books and across like even the genres of the different writers. They think that the students, because they've been planning the festival for a year, actually did that somewhat intentionally. They tried to select and invite writers whose works would speak to each other's works. And they did that, at least in this case, incredibly successfully. So it was me and one other poet, 2 poets, 1 nonfiction writer, 2 short story writers, 1 fiction writer, and a playwright. A bunch of different genres, a bunch of different types of work, but we all had a lot to talk about in terms of our interests because there were so many shared themes. So I was gone for 4 days. It was the longest I've ever been away from my kid since he was born. It was like full immersion back into my identity as a writer and like really reconnecting with that thoroughly in a way that I haven't since he was born. And that was incredibly nourishing. And I'm so grateful for the students at Ithaca College for throwing this event and for inviting me. What I will say is if you're out there and you're in high school and you are looking at colleges and you're interested in the arts, don't overlook Ithaca College, especially if you're interested in this kind of thing, like arts organization, event planning. The vibe was just very kind, loving, passionate, and the students were all really smart and very dedicated to literature. There was a lot of camaraderie among them, and it felt very authentic. And I felt that the students really loved what they were doing and that they worked incredibly hard, but there wasn't a sense of crippling stress around it, you know? So it just, I was very impressed by the atmosphere there. They do this every year. So if you end up going to Ithaca College, you could potentially join this class and be part of planning this yearly event. I do hope that I get more chances to be a visiting writer at universities because that actually is kind of my dream job. Being on panels, talking with students, visiting classrooms, talking about writing, talking about poetry, especially talking about the interaction between form and content because I work with a lot of inherited forms in my poems and, you know, being able to talk about this form of communication as well. The kind of ideas organization and use of language that makes sense on the internet and on video. I always have thought of it as being really separate from my work as a writer, but now the 2 worlds of thought are kind of starting to converge in my mind, and I'm starting to see how, again, they speak to each other across genres, because this, in a way, is its own genre. Not even in a way. YouTube has fully become its own genre. So what an amazing experience to have had. I mean, I can't even get over it. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you. I didn't expect to have a break, right? I just wasn't as ready to go. The day came when I had to get on the plane and go to Ithaca, and I wasn't quite as ready to leave this work as I had hoped to be. So we were a little bit behind. The videos that needed to post were uploaded, but they weren't completed, like the metadata and the thumbnail. And I thought that I would have time when I was traveling, and I completely didn't. I just had none. I just got completely immersed in the world of the festival. I wasn't able to do any of that until I got home. So there was a week between videos. Now I'm back. Back and very happy with the face, like very happy with this. My skin just looks really real. You can still see a little bit of a modeled quality here, but it doesn't look out of place because there isn't like coverage makeup on most of my face. There's a little bit softening the impact of the scars and like healing blemishes and redness, hormonal redness around the nose. There isn't anywhere on my face that has that kind of blanked out quality of coverage makeup. I didn't even use my Refi concealers. I didn't even use a skin tint, you know? I'm really pleased with like the sunscreen layered with the green color corrector and then a little bit of spot concealing. I'm gonna put something in my eyebrows. I'm using the Refi Clear Brow Sculpt, and I'm gonna use a little bit of this $1 Billion Brows Micro Brow Pencil in Raven. As you can tell, I'm kind of leaning towards light-ish makeup today. This is really get ready with me for a normal day and a day on which I'm feeling a little bit low energy. I really love this $1 Billion Brows Raven pencil. I like the soft black color. I like the quality of it. While I was finishing my brows, I was reflecting on the
fact that I have to tell you about the books. This is just madness, okay? I cannot just say that I went to this festival. I have to tell you. I'm going to do it really quickly. Okay, I'm just going to zoom through. So the nonfiction book is called The Riddles of the Sphinx. The writer is Anna Schechtman. She was, I think at this point, the second youngest woman to ever publish a crossword puzzle in the New York Times. She's a crossword puzzle constructor. And she was Will Shortz's assistant for a really long time. He's like the main crossword puzzle guy at the New York Times. And then she wrote this gorgeous book about her personal history. It's part memoir, and it also tells the story of the history of the crossword puzzle as basically something that was like defined and created by women, but then like many disciplines, once it hit the big time, it started to become a male-dominated field, even though women are such an integral part of its history, the history of the crossword puzzle specifically. That's Anna's book. Really recommend. The novelist was Jinu Chong, who wrote Flux, which I haven't read. His new book is I Leave It Up to You, which I did read, and it was like absolute manna for the softies among us, and a really delightful, beautifully written, and kind of like soul coddling read. It makes you feel good. It's easy to get into. There's so much that's fresh about it. It's about a guy who wakes up from a coma unexpectedly and has missed a lot of important things that have actually happened in the world in the past 5 years. The premise is very gripping, and being like in the head of the point of view character who's waking up from a coma is a brilliant way to start a novel. And of course, he's lost everything, right? He has to completely start over because essentially he's been in the coma for years and nobody thought he was going to wake up. Mouth by Paloma Ghosh is, I think, actually a must read in every single way. Totally gripping, bizarre horror stories that also have a kind of levity. I'm not a horror film watcher, you know what I mean? It's not the kind of genre I usually think of myself as being obsessed with, but I was obsessed with this book from like the first page. It sucked me all the way in. Really kind of blew the top off my brain in terms of like what short stories are, what fiction is for. The nature of the feminism in Paloma's work really left its stamp on my brain. You know, it like built a new room in my brain, and the door is there and it's like I can open it and go into it anytime, and it's permanent. I'm so grateful for that. It's also just really lush and dark and sort of doesn't take itself too seriously, again, at the same time, like really easy to read. It makes you read it. It pulls you through it. So you have to read Mouth. Stories I Wrote for the Devil by Ananda Lima, an extraordinary, multi-layered book essentially about a writer who slept with the devil in her youth decades ago, then like the relationship that they developed from there. But it is also unhinged, unexpected, fresh feeling, and the prose is phenomenal. Have you ever read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers? And there's this an unbelievable, sort of, to me, famous, I think it's famous, like I think it's like a pivotal scene in American literature because of the way that Carson McCullers describes what's going on of the point of view character while music is also playing. If you know that book, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? The scene where the writer sleeps with the devil in Craft by Ananda Lima, which is right towards the beginning, right? It's like the sort of the opening event, but the culminating event of the opening story, this actual congress with the devil, to me, it is like the Heart is a Lonely Hunter music scene. It feels like an updated version of that in that it's so lyrical and it just kind of wraps itself around you as you're reading it. So definitely read that. The other poet at the event was Jamaica Baldwin, and her first book is called Bone Language. Especially if you have purchased and read Julia Hungry, my book, and you really enjoyed it, get Bone Language, because we're doing different things. We're relating to craft in different ways, but both really kind of up to our armpits in the sounds of language. Jamaica's doing a lot of work in her poetry reckoning with her childhood and her family, and it's like very in the body and somewhat fantastical and magical realistic in some places. And if Julia Hungry kind of got you on the poetry train and you're not really sure where else to go, try reading Bone Language. It was such a privilege to be able to meet Jamaica at this event. And lastly, the playwright Jake Brosh. Y'all, if you live in Denver, Colorado, look look up Jake's play, The Reservoir, which is about to premiere, I think, or it's probably maybe even up already as I'm publishing this video. Literally, if you live close enough to go see this play, click away from this video and go get tickets. The culminating event of the literary festival was seeing Jake's play, a staged reading of it. And this is their most recent and I think most successful play so far. So they've been writing plays for a long time, had a lot of plays staged. Jake is like just a magical, vibrant person flourishing in the New York theater scene. But this play has really taken off, is really special. We were in stitches the entire, like literally when people say everybody laughed and everyone also cried, everyone was belly laughing during The Reservoir and not a single eye was dry at the end. So hopefully there will be more stagings of The Reservoir. But if you have the chance, I mean, I was about to like book a plane ticket to go to Denver and see the current one. I'm going to look it up right now. Yes, June 18th through the July 20th. The Gil Cates Theater in partnership with Denver Center for the Performing Arts and Alliance Theater. Literally, really, truly not to be missed, my friends. Okay, we did it. I'm not sure that I did them justice. I'm a little spacey today. And you know, with all the travel and sickness, it's like Felix and I have both been sick. Like I feel like half of the time since the beginning of this year. And it seems like as soon as we get better, we get sick again. So it just feels like my life and my identity and my schedule keep getting taken apart and put back together again. And I'm currently at the like just got put back together again stage and the computer's still rebooting. And now I'm trying to tell you about like 6 extraordinary writers and their work all within the span of one part of one video. I'm going to move on to a couple of other things that are cheering me up and continue doing my makeup. I like forgot I was even doing my makeup. What is life? Who am I? What's my job? What am I doing here? I found Sleepy Girl. I had lost it. I'm going to wear it today. Sleepy Girl, the road blush, always makes me feel better about life. Not that I'm feeling that bad. I mean, I don't like being sick, but I'm sort of like overwhelmed by having gotten to do this and by having met these people. And the weird thing is, while it was happening, it was so real. I was like, I can't wait to tell everyone about this. I can't wait to talk about this on YouTube. Now it feels like a dream. Like I got home and it very quickly started to feel like a dream and feel like sort of lost in the annals of my memory, even though it was just less than a week ago. I guess it was a week ago now. Got a little more makeup on. It's all right. It's happening. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna do it's like a little bronzer because that's my vibe these days. I'm still using this Chicotera What's Up Beauty bronzer, but I'm also kind of looking for bronzer recommendations. This one just feels a little dry to me and a little matte. I do like the color. Tell me, are there any really pale, sort of rosy bronzers out there where you really love the finish? That's what I want. Something that feels really skin caring, skin loving, and that I can use to do this. Kind of just make my skin look a little bit healthier. Okay, here's what I wanted to talk about elsewise. It has been really hard to stay on the meditation horse since having a kid. I've kind of been on again, off again. You may remember if you've been around, I took my friend Julia Frodal, who teaches this extraordinary meditation class every January. It's over this year now, but you can go through a self-taught version of it. I love being in the group class, but there's a self-run, like you can take the class online as like a self-taught class anytime. So that's available and I'll link that. Julia has given me a discount code. She's like working on affiliate marketing. It's so amazing. It's like the most valuable thing that I've ever talked about, I guess is what I'll say. I love being able to introduce you to wonderful things that I think add value to a person's life. And this is on an entire other level, right? So I talk about it from time to time, Julia's work. It's amazing that she's like getting on board with a discount code, right? So if you sign up for any of her classes, if you decide to do the self-taught class, you can get a discount using my affiliate code on Julia's work. I use this Rhode lip liner because I can't find any of the Merit ones. I had to hide them. The toddler loves playing with makeup and until recently hasn't really understood that if you open it, there's like something really exciting inside. So he's like played with the shapes, tried to open things, but hasn't really been able to figure it out. He still can't get twist off lids, and I have been careful not to show him how to do it, but I know that the days of him being able to play safely in my makeup bag are numbered and actually might have come to an end because just yesterday he was playing with the Merit lip liners and like popped the top off and he was like, whoa, and I had to take them all away. He can't figure out anything else. But because I took them away, they're not here in my bag anymore, but the Rhode lip liner is. This color is called Balance and I really love the little silicone applicator on the end. It's weirdly shaped like the tip of a highlighter marker, but bizarrely it works really well for blurring out the edge. Also, bizarrely, the color's a little bit like warm and caramelly on me, but I feel like it works. It just works. So a couple of years ago, I took Julia's meditation class in January. I went all in. I didn't have a child yet, right? So I went all in. And over the course of that year, I got to the point where I was meditating for 30 minutes a day, not guided, just doing it. It totally changed my life. I really loved it for its own sake. I think if I hadn't had a child, would have just continued on that trajectory and fully integrated it into my schedule just as solidly as like eating, right? It would have just become absolutely non-negotiable until the end of time because that was how it was. And I remember talking to my friend Amy, one of my meditation group partners in that first year. Her kids are grown now, but she's had a couple kids. And she was like, you're not going to be able to keep meditating every day. I remember thinking like, I'll find a way. I'll get back to it really soon. At the time, I was like, I don't want to know myself without daily meditation. Like, I don't want to go back to that self, to that person. I don't want to live like that anymore. That's really how I felt. I was like, I can't, for the sake of not just my child and my husband and my friends, family, but also just myself. But for all of our sakes, I was like, I can't go back to not being someone who has this as part of my life. So I was like, we'll see, Amy. And I was like, we'll see. But she was totally right. It's been so hard to get back to having it integrated as a part of my daily life so effortlessly, just because it's hard to find the time. It's hard to make time. There's no time. It's taken me this long. I've been a little bit off and on. I've taken the meditation class again, but it's just been really hard to fully recommit in that complete way. Lately, I really started using Julia's app, using her guided meditations as like a way to get my foot back in the door and open it. And also for my birthday, my father gave me a meditation bench, which is making sitting much more comfortable. I will link the one that he sent to me. It's also very beautiful. So we're not exactly back again, but I still have the muscle memory of where I was, where I had gotten to. So it doesn't actually feel as far away as I feared that it would. And that I just wanted to update you because it's something that I've talked about a lot in the past. And I get a lot of comments like, tell us about your meditation journey. And the reality is just that lately it's been really hard because it's been hard to do anything regularly. But I'm getting back to it. I'm really grateful to Julia for offering this app and glad that I thought to tell you about the code because she gave it to me a long time ago and I keep forgetting to tell you. That's kind of all I want to talk about. Lots of people are asking about my health ring. It's not an Aura ring. It's an ultra human ring, which is like their competitor. It basically does the same thing. So I really like it. It's like an Apple Watch, except it doesn't have a screen on it, but it's like monitoring, right? The thing that I really like about it is, oh my gosh, I'm going to say something that I wasn't expecting to say. The thing that I really like about it is that it's reality. Like it's actually showing the reality of how much I'm sleeping, how stressed I am, all of this stuff. And that shows me that my concept of how I'm doing health-wise is often not true. There's a lot of sort of guilt and negative self-talk, as they say, getting in the way of me actually seeing clearly what I'm doing and for my health. The best example is sleep, that I tend to really beat myself up for not getting enough sleep. I'm like, I stayed up too late. I spend the whole evening after my child goes to bed being like, I've got to go to sleep. I've got to go to sleep. I'm staying up too late. And then I get in bed and I'm like, oh, I should have gotten to sleep earlier. I should have gotten more sleep. And then I get up the next day and I'm like, I should have gotten more sleep. But I got the ring, and after wearing it for a week or so, it was like, you could sleep a little more, but the ring was like, actually, you're getting close to 8 hours a lot of the time, generally fine. And that caused me to really relax about whether or not I'm getting enough sleep. And it's also sometimes I don't get enough and it's like, oh, you've got a sleep deficit of like half an hour, so try to get a little more tonight. It's just chill. It's like, it's okay. And it'll tell me if I didn't sleep that well or slept well, but overall, it's like giving me the big picture, which is like, you're actually kind of fine. And that really revealed to me the narrative that I have, which is like, I'm doing terribly. I have no discipline. I'm like not doing enough. I'm not perfect. Isn't that wild? It's like, that's the thing that it showed me. It also motivates me to try to get a good sleep score, so it's bringing it to the forefront of my mind, but in a concrete way rather than in this abstract kind of guilt way, the abstract guilty way that really contains like a narrative from my youth of me being someone who doesn't get up early enough and doesn't get enough sleep. And like, it's really time to leave that at the door because I'm a grown woman. I can sleep however I want. I'm actually doing fine. The ring told me so. So that's been amazing. One of you commented, and I saw this interesting comment from someone who tried the Aura ring and didn't like it because it was like, felt chastised by it for doing something like having a drink with friends or something. That hasn't been my experience. And maybe it doesn't have as detailed data. It doesn't know if I have a drink. It doesn't know that I'm like ceremonial drinking cacao. It doesn't know. So I have had the opposite feeling. I've had the opposite reaction, and I feel like more confident and okay. Like health is a little more achievable, even though I haven't been getting enough steps in and all of this stuff. It's just seeing the data, it makes me realize that it's the black and white thinking of before was like success or failure. Like I'm either healthy or not. And I was squarely I felt in this realm of not. The ring has added nuance. I look at it and I'm like, oh, I haven't gotten as many steps as the ring thinks I should be getting, but I've gotten a lot. That's better than just every day being like, I've failed today to be healthy. So I really like it. Another place I've been, this is what, am I done with my makeup? No. Oh, did I tell you what I put on my lips? This was PR from NARS. The color, can you even? Someone in the lab was like, let's make something for Hannah Louise Poston specifically. It is the milk chocolate of my dreams. It's the shade Smooth Talk. It's clear, especially because I have a little bit of pigment to my lips. The color's not really showing, but it's also not like pink. You know, it's the perfect color for a clear product for me. However, the component feels very plasticky. It's weird. It looks good, but I'm used to NARS feeling a little more quality. It feels, I think it might have something to do with the pressure from the inside that's pushing it out when I'm twisting it. That is somehow contributing to the component feeling like it's made out of cheap materials and it's very lightweight. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's so surprised me because of what I've come to expect from NARS that I felt like it was worth mentioning. But I like the product. It's like a nourishing feeling lip oil type thing. The product is Afterglow Lip Shine. I like it. Conspicuously bare are my eyelids. I just don't really feel like wearing eye makeup today. I think that is how it's going to be. I think what has happened is you've gotten ready with me. But I wanted to tell you, I have to show you this. Do you know what this is? The Claire V masculine feminine sweatshirt that I have wanted for years. Like this has been on my wish list. Claire V is a really cool LA-based designer, and I've been aware of her handbag designs for years because she, when the brand was really small and young, made this like fold over clutch that I think they still make, but I was in the store. This is the last story I'm going to tell. So overwhelmed. All right, history. I was obsessed with this fold over clutch. To me, for a long time, it was like the perfect bag because it was just this simple fold over, large, like a big fold over wallet. I'll try to put a picture, I'll link it or something. It's still available, but I don't know how many different colors it comes in. And in the store I was in recently, it was only there in one color, which was this black and white weave that wasn't my exact vibe. But I did see it and it brought back the memories, you know? Little young Hannah in her 20s, just lusting after Claire V, really watching the brand and following her future career with great interest, then seeing this sweatshirt launch and being like, it's literally the sweatshirt of my dreams. And it's really soft and just like luxe feeling, but it's expensive. Okay. It's like a designer. It's this like independent, really cool designer. It's expensive. And I had never bitten the bullet. There have been times I've had it in my cart, and then just been like, I can't do this right now. Claire V invited me to their store to pick something out. So I went to the store and this sweatshirt was there. I'm going to make a reel about it or something. I have some content that I took when I was in the store, so I'll put some like B-roll on the screen right now so you can see what it was like. It was incredibly fun to go, especially because it's a brand that I've been admiring from afar and following for a really long time. I'm gonna end it there. So that's where I've been. That's my makeup. That's what's been cheering me up right now. That's what you should read. Read the books of the other new voices from the Ithaca Festival. You know, if you're a college student, mention to your English department, your creative writing department that you know a poet who would love to come and read and speak, or your communications department, talk to classes about making videos. I'm available. I'm now booking for the 2025-2026 school year. I hope this video wasn't too boring. We'll be back to like more contemporary, algorithm-friendly content pretty soon. But for the time being, if you're still here, you're a real one. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.